Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Quarantine Happy Hour, not for those easily offended. I'm your host, Anais Lucia, and today's episode is going to be about the differences between the US and the United Kingdom. And my guest is my friend Christopher Garner, who lives in England. But before we get started, I have to show you my drink for today's episode, which is Takara Plum Wine. It is amazing. Plum wine is my favorite kind of wine, and I like to try all different kinds. There's actually not that many different kinds of plum wine, but I happened to see this one at the store, and it's really rare when I see plum wine at the store, so I had to try it. And before we bring Chris on, let me have my first drink. It's so good and much needed during this time. I wanted to bring Chris on to talk about the differences because I feel a lot of people in the US don't really know much about other countries, other areas of the world. I think a lot of it just does have to do with the fact that they don't care about knowing, because I feel like you don't really have an excuse. If you're an adult, if you're over 18 and you want to know about anything in the world, you can look it up. There's the internet, okay? So you can look up everything else. You can look up TV shows, you can look up dating advice, gross, disgusting things on the internet, but you don't look up information about other countries, it's because you don't want to. It's not because it's not out there. It is. And I love traveling. Traveling is my biggest passion. And one of my biggest pet peeves is people from the US who travel and they just don't seem to care about doing any research of the places they go to, and they come off very dumb and ignorant because they assume that for some reason other countries are going to be like the US. I don't know why you assume that. And, I was actually watching a few episodes of 90 Day Fiancé. Not the whole thing. I just watch it on this YouTube channel, Psychology in Seattle, because Dr. Kirk Honda, he kind of analyzes and just we learn a lot from the people on the show. And I like to learn. So one thing I notice a lot is that the Americans that go to other countries to get their fiancés, they come off, again, very dumb and ignorant. And because they're always shocked, like, why is it like this? And in America, we don't do that. And it's like, because you're not in America. And then the families of their fiancés will be like, did you not do any research before you came here? And it's just crazy because, first of all, when you travel anywhere, do some research on the country and the culture, and, things are different. You can't do the same thing everywhere. Do some just basic research. You don't have to be an expert, historian, nothing, just basic research. And people don't do that in general, but the fact that the people on the show didn't do it for their fiance who's from there, it's just like, I can't believe that. It's just so annoying to me. Like, if you really care about the person, if you really love them and hopefully want to bring your two families together, and just be accepted, like, do some basic research. Come on. But yeah, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. And I also wanted to bring Chris on because I love traveling. I was planning on traveling to actually visit Chris, and now I can't do that anymore. And now, because of Americans, obviously not all of them, have been so ignorant and dumb, and selfish, now I don't know when I'm going to be able to go because people don't want Americans now. So because some of them have to be dumb, we're all getting screwed. And I just need to talk to somebody from another country right now just so I can feel better, because to me, I feel trapped in this country. It's kind of like when you're trapped with your significant other that you hate, like you're quarantined with them and you can't escape them. That's how I feel being in this country. Like, this whole country is my ex-boyfriend and I can't escape you. And like, no matter where I go, I'm still here. So I'm like, I'm trapped with my ex and I'm so I've been over this country since I was like 11. I've been wanting to leave since I was a little kid, just because I never felt like I fit in this country. partly because I'm an introvert and America is way more of an extroverted country. Culturally too, I think style too. I just, people say I dress too nice. I don't know, maybe it's more of a European thing. I don't know. I like dressing nice. My music taste as well. Not that I hate American music, but most of my favorite bands are from England or some other place that's not America, or as I call it, disappointment. So I've just never really felt like I fit in here or really accepted. When I've been abroad, Norway, Prague, England, like I felt I fit in there a lot more. So I just always wanted to leave. So hopefully you guys will learn a little bit about the differences between the UK and the US. And for those of you who love traveling, hopefully just, hearing from somebody from another country, maybe that'll help you a little bit more like it's helping me. So let's bring Chris on. Welcome, Chris. Thank you so much for taking the time and being on my podcast.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you for asking me. You did kind of brief me just before we hit record on what this is going to be about. And I hope I'm the right man for the job for this thing. Like, I feel like I should have revised. I feel like I should have studied and prepared for this thing. But no, it's going to be good. It's going to be good fun.
Yeah, no, we wanted to. Well, there's more people. It's just me. I wanted to.
Collective we, the fan base.
Yes, yes. We want to hear from. Sorry for that buzzing. It's like my alarm, my fire alarm. I guess ran out of batteries. But anyway, we wanted to hear from a UK citizen what life is like there. For those of us who miss traveling and don't get to go. First of all, let's just clarify. How would you explain to somebody who's not from there, what the heck is a United Kingdom? Because I think some people don't understand what that is.
The United Kingdom consists of England, Scotland, the top of the map. You've got Wales towards the left-hand side of the map. And then you've got Northern Ireland, which is a whole thing with much turmoil, ongoing turmoil between themselves and us. Yeah, so that's kind of the United Kingdom. And, you've got some people that kind of want independence. I think Scotland kind of wants Scottish independence. A lot of people don't like England. We have a very sort of tarnished history as a country, which you can read up on. I'm sure every country does, but that's kind of what the UK is. I say I'm British. I don't say I'm English. British is kind of all-inclusive. It's probably the safest bet to say, really.
Oh, okay. So if you say you're English, it's like you're being kind of
a little bit pompous, like a little bit kind of bring back the British Empire kind of thing. Maybe not. Like, when you say what language do you speak, you say English, of course you do, but just British. That's kind of the safe bet.
Okay, now I know who's stuck up and who's not. If somebody says I'm English, I'm like, I'm not going to hang out with you. But luckily, most people that I'm a fan of who are British say they're British. I don't think I've really heard them refer to themselves as English. So that's cool. All right. So now let's start with just like basics. We're going to go over and see how much you remembered from school.
Oh boy.
We're going to talk about just basic government stuff. So just real quick, the U.S. government is made up of 3 branches. We have the legislative branch, which is made up of, Congress, which is made up of the House of Representatives and the Senate. And then we have the executive branch, which is the president, and then the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court. So what about the UK?
And if my government and politics class really quickly, if I can remember it, the Senate holds all the power because they that's the 2/3 majority, right? If I remember rightly, is that okay? I got it. So I can still remember a few things from school. That's about as far as I go. That's about as all I can remember. So obviously we have a monarchy in the UK. It's very popular for tourism and basically nothing else. They show up at a lot of social gatherings. They wave. They say a couple of speeches around Christmas, and that's kind of it. It's not kind of in the good old days of good old Henry VIII or Elizabeth I, where they actually had real power. That power has now kind of been passed on to the Prime Minister, and they kind of have final say. I think the monarchy does have some say on certain things, but it's mostly just the Prime Minister. In terms of the actual politics of the place, you've kind of got 2 main parties, which I guess is very similar to the US. You've got Democrats and Republicans. In this country, we have Labour and Conservative. I guess if you were going to offer some kind of comparison, I would say Labour is probably more sort of like the Democrat kind of policy side of things, and then you've got Conservative, which is probably like Republican. And And yeah, that's basically it. There is a third party, the Liberal Democrats, but they kind of never get a look in. So it's mostly just the two parties there. But yeah, Prime Minister has all the say. And if you want to do a comparison between the UK and the US at the moment, I don't want to make this too political in case I offend a lot of people.
No, it's okay.
But,
this podcast is for those who are not offended. We keep it 100 here, okay?
Okay,
so
awesome. I appreciate the candidate. But it's kind of like a satire at the moment, isn't it, between the UK and the US with everything that's going on? So I guess we do have that as a similarity between the two.
Did you see the SNL sketch where it was like Justin Trudeau and Boris, what's his last name? Like, oh my gosh,
Boris Johnson.
Yes, they were like making fun of Donald Trump. Like, like they were acting like they were in high school, and so like Boris and Justin were like, ha ha, and like they were bullying Trump and everything. Like it was a high school, it was awesome. I'm like, yes, I support this, even though he's my disgusting president. But so in terms of elections here, we have a president that's elected every 4 years. They can only serve 2-term limits. That's the max. That was after Teddy Roosevelt because he was so popular that he kept getting reelected. So they're like, okay, we need to put some limits because we don't want the same president forever. So because of him, we have term limits. But now I'm kind of thankful for that because hopefully Trump doesn't get another one. We have 2 senators per state, and those are elected every 6 years. But the House of Representatives, those are allocated according to population. So basically the more popular states have more representative. If there's nobody in your state, you only get a few. so it's kind of like a nice balance. And representatives are elected every 2 years. Then there's 9 Supreme Court justices, and that's a lifetime appointment. So you get elected, you you get a chosen, and then you basically are one until you die or decide to resign. I kind of don't like that though, because I don't want like people who are kind of too old and out of touch to like be making decisions. I don't know. And then, we have the state and local elections for like mayor and like governor, attorney general and stuff like that. So who are kind of like the main people in the UK and how often are they reelected?
I think it's kind of similar. So I believe it's 4 years in the UK. We have elections. You kind of have your local MP to sort of kind of like your little region on the map, and then votes are counted from those, which is then a majority is counted, which then elects the prime minister, the leader of that party overall. So you have like your little local kind of councils and everything like that. It sounds very similar, really. Every 4 years, and exactly the same. It's like 2 terms, if you're going to call them terms, and then they're out, and then we hopefully get a change. We will see.
Oh, I think your elections, aren't they publicly funded? Like they can't raise money from like corporations and stuff like that?
That might be right. I don't know. I will be honest. We keep it 100%.
Yes,
as you say.
yes.
I'm not massively politically minded. I'm vaguely aware of everything that's going on in the world, but it is kind of a depressing thing. So you just
yeah, we're gonna move on from politics soon, but we just need to kind of get like the boring stuff out of the way first. But here, I think one of the reasons it's corrupt is that we want those of us who are more progressive, we want them to be publicly funded 100%, but corporations here just buy out all the politicians. So that's why it's really hard to get anything passed that's going to benefit the regular people, because they don't listen to us because they get the money from the corporations. So that's where they get a lot of the corruption from. And I don't know if it's going to change anytime soon. All right. So now let's talk about healthcare, because that's a big difference.
Yes, huge difference.
And that's one of the reasons I don't want to live here anymore. Here, it's just so complicated. You have all these insurance companies that are kind of like the middleman, and it's like a lot of people don't have insurance because they can't afford it, and then some employers offer it, but they only offer it to full-time employees if they do. But they try to get out of it by hiring mostly part-time employees, and that way they don't have to give too many employees of healthcare coverage. So they try as much as they can to like not give people healthcare. And then it's kind of hard for people to, if you get tired at your job, if you have health insurance from your job, but maybe you want to move on, you want to try something else, like you're kind of stuck there because you're like, oh, well, I don't want to lose my insurance. So it kind of prevents people from kind of trying new things in their life and just kind of being stuck at a horrible job just because they don't want to lose the health care. And then if you don't have insurance, like because your job doesn't offer it, you can't afford it, it's like your health insurance plan is basically don't get sick. That's my health insurance plan is like, don't get sick, because if you end up in the hospital, even for a little thing, it costs a lot of money. I hate going to the doctor. Like when I would go, if I went, it's because I was really like, I tried everything, nothing works, I still feel bad. But a lot of times I hated going because when I would go, they would just end up being like, oh, we'll just take a Tylenol. And I'm like, so now I have to pay you for that. Like, really? Like, I could have just taken a Tylenol and I don't have, like, so it's just really, really messed up. And now because of COVID, they still don't think it's time to change that. But now let's talk about yours.
I get there's all the powers that be in the US, and obviously it's a hell of a moneymaker. It's a hell of a moneymaker, so I can see why they don't want to do it. But I mean, I don't know all policies and everything like that. As I say, I'm not politically minded. I don't follow it to the T like I know some people do. But wasn't there like a healthcare reform or proposal put in? I don't know if it was under Obama or what. It was Obamacare or something. And then people just didn't want it. I'm like, why don't you want this thing?
Well, it's because there was a lot of misinformation. That's a thing.
Right.
Like a lot of people thought that he was saying that you can't see your doctor anymore, and they're like, I want to see my doctor. I'm just like, that's not what he said. It's basically, it was just like expanding benefits a little bit more to some people. Like at that time, I think I was 24, 25, so you could stay under your parents' plan until you were 26, and before then you couldn't do that. Also before, or like Obamacare or whatever, you could get rejected for insurance if you had a pre-existing condition or if you were pregnant, which I think is so dumb. I'm like, those people need insurance. Why would you like reject them and charge them more? That's the other horrible thing. So he basically kind of did away with that. So it's just like some changes and everything, but it wasn't like enough to like cover people, because I was only covered under that for like 1 year or one more year, and then I'm like, still now no insurance again. So it's not what like I want, what other countries have, where like everyone has it. It's not tied to a job. I can go if I'm sick, I can go without having to worry about like being in debt. So yeah,
I swear I heard like some arguments where like we want to bring in like a kind of national health service kind of thing, and then people go like, oh, this is like a communist thing, is a socialist, like we don't want this thing, like take it away from us. It's like, but it's here to help. But yeah, okay, so in terms of the UK, we have the NHS, which is the National Health Service. It's largely funded through sort of like general taxation, really. But I know if I stub my toe, I can take myself to the hospital, have a very long wait in the waiting room, but I will be seen by someone and I will get free healthcare, which is amazing. And it's incredible. And it's one of the, I mean, they've been pretty strapped, especially with everything that's going on in the world at the moment. We did a whole thing in the UK where every Thursday, this was like, I think a couple of months ago now, you'd applaud the NHS. You'd go out at like 8 p.m, I think it was. You'd clap for like 5 minutes, and there was little rainbow logos and everything that people were putting up in their windows in support of them. Which is quite funny because the current political party in at the moment, the Conservatives, actually slashed the funding considerably for the NHS. And now it's just like, oh yeah, all praise to the NHS. It's like, you cut their funding. So a little bit of hypocrisy going on there. But in terms of like paying for healthcare and stuff, if I go to the doctors, obviously you pay prescriptions. That's something that you do pay for. So you don't get everything free.
But it's probably not as expensive. Here they're very expensive. Like medicine is really expensive.
It's between £8 to £10 in the UK. I'm not quite sure what that translates out.
Oh no,
to
yeah, here it's
dollars.
like it could be like $100 for like a month for your medication, sometimes more. Yeah, yeah.
That's a lot. But yeah, and then there are some things as well. I think this is mostly dental, but I think you can do some other stuff. You can choose to pay private, which sometimes that helps. Not to say healthcare is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but you are kind of getting everything. You are getting the services that are available to everyone, whereas sometimes if you go, here's a little bit of money, I'm going to pay private, you do kind of jump the queue kind of thing, as it were. You might get a bit more specialist treatment from that, but that does get very expensive when you start to pay private. So yeah, I mean, it's great that if I get ill, I don't have to pay thousands, because I can imagine that's a really really terrible situation for a lot of people in the US, especially people who are less well off. Even for general, yeah. So, people either choose to just carry on because they physically can't, they wouldn't be, they wouldn't be able to afford to live afterwards. It's mad. It's absolutely mad, which is why if I do travel abroad, because I will say, I haven't been to the US. You actually have a good grasp on both. You have come to London, you have traveled to the UK before. I have literally just been homegrown, I was going to say England then, UK my entire life. And, but yeah, if I fell ill, if I was abroad, I would not know what to do. I'd be like, oh, I know there's insurances and stuff that you can do, but even
Yeah, I
still,
think there's like travel insurance. And
yeah, which covers you for like a considerable amount, I think. But yeah, I'd say that's one of the biggest difference between the US and the UK, is definitely that side of things.
And a lot of people here die because of lack of insurance.
Yeah.
Because they will not go because I had a concussion, like a minor concussion 2 years ago, and everyone's like, you need to go to hospital, and I'm like, I know, but I'm scared, like, then I'm stuck with thousands of dollars in debt, and I really want to know what's going on because I was in a lot of pain. It was like horrible. And I actually ended up like not going. I'm like, I'm just gonna pray, like I'll be okay. And I told some friends what happened. I'm like, can you like just text me in the morning to see if I wake up, because I was so scared to fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily I woke up, but I was in like, I just kind of looked up things that I can do to kind of rehabilitate myself. And then I talked to a friend who was a football coach, and he kind of worked with people with concussions, so he kind of helped me too. So I kind of had to like help myself, but it would have been nice to like actually be able to go. What if the concussion was worse? What if I had, I couldn't know. So that's, a cause of death for a lot of people, is just not having insurance. And as an American, what do I have to say? I hate saying that, like, because I'm from here. But I would much rather pay more in taxes and know that everyone's covered, like I'm covered. I'm the kind of person that I'd rather pay more to get like the benefits and like have to pay them later. So I'm okay. That's why it's kind of hard to get people to support it here, because they don't want to pay for taxes. They're like, well, I don't want to pay for other people. And I'm like, okay, first of all, that's selfish. Second of all, like, it's going to benefit everyone. If everyone is healthier, people can go to work more. Like, they won't be spreading diseases as easily. Like, they can take care of themselves. It's a benefit for everyone. So, but people just kind of don't want to see it in that way. So that's
human nature. That is a whole other argument.
Yeah.
But
All right, so now let's talk about vacation time in terms of work. So here in the US, we pretty much have like no vacation time is mandated. So you are not obligated to get any paid vacation time. Some employers, very few, offer it. And if they do, again, they only offer it to full-time employees. But again, they try to get away with it by trying to hire as many part-timers as they can, so they don't have to offer it to anyone. And if they do offer a vacation time, it's not a lot. Like I know in Italy, you get like months of vacation time, and then in Italy it rolls over. So if there's like 2 months that you didn't use, it rolls over. So it actually accumulates where you can have like a year paid time off. But here, it depends on the employer. Like if they do offer it, sometimes it will roll over, sometimes it won't roll over. I'm 34. I've had a lot of jobs, very few full-time jobs, and like I don't think I ever got like vacation time. So what about in the UK?
So it entirely depends on the job and the employer. I think usually in terms of vacation time, there's a difference. We call it holiday, but vacation time, I'd say the average is probably three weeks to a month. You tend to get some jobs you get more, you get better jobs, you get perks of the job, you get more time off, things like that. You are entitled to sick pay. I think that pay or that time that you're allowed off depends whether you're part-time and full-time. I think there's probably like a different time bracket there. If you're 0 hours, you're basically just completely crapped on all the time. Like you're not entitled to sick pay. If you're sick and you can't get to work, you don't get paid. if you are working a 0-hour job, which, I suppose is fair enough because, they call, you go in.
What does a 0-hour job mean?
It's just, it could be a thing where they call, they've got full timers, they've got part timers. Say that they're a couple of people down, they'll have like a casual list that they can call and say like, hey, can you cover this shift? Like completely out of the blue, you might get a call in the morning like,
You're on
can you come in
call.
today? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So if that's the case, if you are sick, obviously because you're not mandated any set hours, you're not entitled to sick pay, and holiday. It's kind of on your own back essentially. Like you could take a 2 weeks holiday, they could call you up for like a week's worth of work. If you can't attend, if you're on holiday, well, you're not getting paid, you know what I mean? So that's kind of the difference. It really depends on the job and the employee, and it's all agreed upon. It's, like all in a contract. When you start, it's all laid out what you're entitled to.
So okay, so you said the amount depends on the job of the employer, and if you're full-time or part-time, but is every employer required to offer it, or
I believe so, yeah. I think in
Okay.
general, yeah.
So no matter where, like if you get full-time job at any job, you're gonna get vacation time or holiday and sick leave and stuff, sick time.
Yeah, you should do. I mean, I'm sure there's some places that kind of try and brush it off, but yeah, general rule of thumb, everyone's entitled to that. And in terms of like things rolling over, I don't think, again, it could depend on the job. To my knowledge, things don't roll over from jobs that I've worked. It tends to be they're kind of on it. They know how much holiday you have left, and they will say you need to take X amount of days holiday, annual leave or whatever, because then it's going to roll over and your new set of holiday is going to start, and they want you to kind of use it all up before moving into the next one. I don't think it rolls over, so I don't think you could just like accumulate it over like 5 years and go boom, I'm going to take like half a year off or something like that.
Okay, so that's something that Italy does have. That's pretty cool because I was watching one of my favorite documentaries by Michael Moore called Where to Invade Next, and he goes to all these different countries to find all these different policies. And he was talking to like this couple and in Italy, and the guy said he had like 8 months of like vacation time accumulated but he hadn't taken it because he was like really busy or something. And I'm like, dude, take the time, like come on, give some to me, like I'll take it. But I thought that was like pretty cool because over there they really want their like people to be happy. So I'm like, you don't hear that here in the US.
Do you remember happiness? Do you remember a time of happiness? I'm do.
Like, can you talk to our leaders here, because here they don't care at all. So okay, so here in terms of employment, this has changed, I think, in the last maybe like 10-15 years. Back when my parents were younger, they could have like one job and be good. Here, like now, you have to have multiple jobs to survive, to make ends meet. So how is it over there? Do you think like most people can survive on one job, or they need multiple jobs, or?
Oh, I think there are jobs where you can survive on one job. I think that in terms of like housing and stuff like that, renting is obviously very popular now, but costs of renting a place are ridiculously high, to the point where you'll pretty much be breaking even with whatever you own at work. Obviously, you'll have like a little bit to save, but it's very much, if you kind of get steeped in that renting thing, it's very difficult to get out and save up enough money extra to eventually kind of get your own place. So I think there are some jobs, obviously, if you're in a very well-paid job, excellent, fantastic. It's up to your discretion what kind of living costs, which place you end up getting. But I think. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I think some people do have multiple jobs. I know a lot of people I know have multiple jobs, and they have to do that because it just helps out. It's just, but I think a lot of people, like get into relationships maybe because it is easier when you've got 2 paychecks coming in. It is easy, for a lot of people, it's easier to get a place and like that. But I think it can be done on your own. I think you've just got to be in an exceptionally well-paid job, full-time, over 40 hours kind of thing.
So let's say somebody who works, like, minimum wage should be the minimum to survive. It's not enough. A lot of people with minimum wage jobs still need another job. So let's just say, like, anyone that or the jobs that you've worked that were minimum wage, was that enough, or you still had to get like another job?
Oh, you probably have to get another job because
Okay.
the thing is, this is the clever thing. There'll be a big government announcement saying, like minimum wage is going up by like 20p or something like that. It's not much, but everyone's like, yes, minimum wage is going up. But then you see, so minimum wage goes up, and then the cost of everything else just kind of, it's always at a constant. It's when one rises, the other rises to meet it as well. So I think currently, I will double check right now. I think it's around like £8.20 minimum wage. Does it tell me? I think it's around £8.20 an hour, which is fine. But obviously, the cost of everything else has also gone up. So you're kind of always at the same kind of equilibrium all the time.
And what do you guys call, just to like just for just like a language thing? Okay, well, if you're gonna go look for a place to live, would you call it do you guys call it apartments or lofts, or what do you guys call it?
Um, well, I mean, it depends. You could have flats are very
Oh, flats.
popular.
Okay.
Flats, apartments. Yeah, it really depends. I mean, I could bring up a list now and it could say like such and such apartment available for this amount, and then it depends.
What's
We
the
use
difference
both.
between a flat and an apartment? What's the difference?
I think a flat tends to be, if I was going to describe a flat tends to be a 2, 3, or more story building with much housing in it. I think that's probably an awful description. I'm going to check, but an apartment apartment just sounds nicer to me. Just a flat is kind of, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to bring like classism into it, but like lower, well-off families maybe tend to
Oh,
be in
okay.
flats.
I
An
thought I
apartment
thought
just
flats
sounds
sounded
nicer to me.
cool. So that's what I needed
No,
to know.
no, I don't think flats. I mean, I'm not knocking anyone that lives in a flat. It's totally fine. I'm sure you get some nicer ones. You get some absolutely horrible, grotty ones, which are ones that I've been into, where you walk into them and you think you're about to get stabbed.
Oh, okay.
But then, I don't know. Apartment just sounds nice to me. If I said like, oh yeah, I've got my own apartment, like, ooh, oh,
Oh.
this guy's got it going on, kind of thing. But if I said like, oh yeah, I live in a flat. You
Oh.
can get some very nice flats, but
So it
it
doesn't
all
help you
depends
on
on the area.
dates. Like living on a flat. Want to come back to my flat? It doesn't sound as cool as want to come back to my apartment.
Apartment, exactly. There's a certain gravitas when you drop the word apartment, I think.
Oh. Okay, good to know.
It might be
I'm,
the
a,
snob in me, but
I'm gonna be looking at flats like, hey, and then I'll be like, wait, why does it look so
this
gross?
is not me knocking flats at all. I'm sure there are some beautiful ones out there, but it all depends on areas and everything
Okay, I'm
like
gonna look
that.
at the high-end flats.
Well, you can get some like high-rise flats that are absolutely ridiculously
Ooh.
huge, like stories and stories
I
high.
love high rise.
That,
I love
but,
everything in just high up. Just because for safety reasons, I feel more safe when I'm up top than first floor. All right, so now let's talk about education. So
Okay.
I'll try to go as quick as I can. So the U.S. we have preschools usually around when you're 4 or 5. Preschools are not public, so they're usually private, so your parents can choose to put you in. I was in there for 2 years, so that's why I'm super smart. My mom put me in the year too early, so when I finished the first year, I couldn't go to elementary school yet, so she's like, okay, I guess we'll put you in preschool again. So I was in preschool for 2 years. And then we have elementary school, which is, we have public and private ones. That's kindergarten to 5th grade. And then they have some gifted programs, which I was a part of, field trips, school plays, talent shows, spelling bees, which I was a champion of, just saying, just flexing. And then after elementary school, we have middle school, and we have public and private, and middle schools are 6th to 8th grade. Those also have like honors programs and, gifted classes, which I was still a part of. And then, some plays, talent shows, they kind of like stop, like in elementary school, most of the schools have like plays, but like in middle school, it's like some of them do, some don't. Mine kind of stopped with the plays and I was sad, but we still had talent shows. We have some dances. Then we have public and private high schools, which are 9th to 12th grade, and you usually end up graduating when you're 18 or 17 if you're one of the younger ones. And then you usually have to complete a senior project to graduate. And then they offer for the upper above average students honors, AP, classes, which I took. And then if you want to go to college, you have to take the ACT and the SAT, which I hated. I hated taking tests. And then they also have charter schools that kind of work outside of all of that whole system, but I don't really know too much about them. There's kind of like controversy about them, so that's an option if you want. In terms of like languages that they teach, because I know other countries they teach languages a little bit younger, but in the US they seem to not really teach them until like high school. Some do teach them in middle school, but most of them is high school. So then a lot of students, they might, and it's usually like Spanish because it's the second most spoken language, and sometimes French. Like I took French and maybe German too. I've heard of them offering German, but a lot of students will forget it after, because you absorb any language like music and stuff easier the younger you learn it. But since a lot of them don't offer it till high school, a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, I took Spanish in high school, but I forgot it. So it doesn't really stick. And then in high school, we have some of them have dances, proms, junior prom, senior prom. And then after, we have public and private colleges and universities. Those offer usually 4-year degrees. And then if you want a bachelor's, and if you want to earn a master's, PhD, you can do that. Community colleges offer 2-year degrees, which are associates, and they're more affordable. But a lot of students take a long time to get their 4-year degrees. Ends up being like 6 years, because they have to usually work while going to school, so they can't go to school like full time. So it just takes longer, very expensive. Tuition goes up pretty much every year. So a lot of people end up graduating in debt. And then even though they're promised like, oh yeah, you can get a job with a bachelor's, they'll leave college and then they still can't get a job to like pay back the debt. So they're just kind of stuck in this cycle of debt. Here we have like fraternities and sororities, which I never joined because I don't like being told how to dress and how to act. We have like intramural sports, different clubs for all different interests. So now to UK. Let's start from the beginning. Like, do you have preschool, elementary? What's it called over there?
So yeah, there are quite a lot of name changes going on here. You're using words like, what is it, sorority? Is
sorority and fraternity?
Even when I say it, I have to kind of say it with an American accent to
alpha,
it. Alpha,
beta, gamma, and all that stuff. Yeah.
It's like so alien to be saying that word that I just kind of slip into like a faux American accent. But so I guess preschool we would call, I guess it depends across the map where you come from, like playgroup we called it, preschool, nursery, all that kind of thing. So you do that, then you move into junior school or primary school.
So it's like our elementary in a way.
Yeah, and you'll do a year there called reception, which is like your baby year. That's like your first year there, like fresh out of play school, preschool, whatever you want to. You go into reception. You have year 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, and then that will cover you at your primary school, and then you'll move to your secondary school or your higher school, upper school, whatever you want to call it, and you'll do years 7, 8, 9. 10 and 11 are GCSEs, which you have to do. You can leave school at the age of 16, but you have to be in some form of education until the age of 18. So you can either stay on for years 12 and 13, which is what I did at my school. It was a 6th form, or people could leave and go to college as long as they're in some kind of education until 18. And then people either, get a trade off that, something they've done at college, or they can choose to go on to university. Which I did, where you get a BA and then you have to pay it all back. Thankfully, I was the final year before tuition fees for universities skyrocketed through the roof. So I think my tuition fees was something like £3,200 a year, which is still a lot considering what my course was, which was an absolute joke. But I think the year after me, it moved to like $9,500 for people.
A year or semester?
A year, yeah. So it almost tripled essentially from what I was paying for exactly the same thing, and I just got in the year beforehand. So kids now racking up debt of like 27k for 3 years at uni, and that's uni. That's a thing that we call it. That's a slang term for university. We call it uni.
Okay.
See, I'm slipping into my own accent now. It
That's good.
happens.
I want to hear from. I don't want you to speak American. No, we don't want you to know.
I'm just very aware that, like, my accent, my
We
lingo
love it. We love
might
it.
just slip out.
Be you.
But like, some people have a 4-year degree. Mine was a 3-year. Some people have 4. If you're going into medicine, it can be like upwards of 7, and then that's not to mention like masters that you can go into, PhDs and things like that. So it's mad. So there is a clear defined break between the schools. You've got that primary, which is your younger years, and then you move with, it's always a big scary move into that higher school, and then you've got really older kids compared to you, and you're the little year 7, like, oh god, what is this strange place? It's like discovering a new planet. But I think there has been a lot of impact and sort of knock-on effect from the US into schools nowadays. For example, when my parents were at school, it was very, very different compared to what it is now, especially in terms of punishment at school. They used to get what was called the cane. If you were playing up, if you were not a nice kid, you would be called to the office and you'd be caned on the hand or something.
Wow.
We don't have that now. They used to, the old chalkboards and the rubbers that you used to like wipe it off. They would throw those across the classroom at kids.
Wow.
You can't do that now. You'd get arrested. So school was very different from when my parents were there.
Wow.
So it was much more relaxed when I was there. But in terms of like US impact, we have one prom. I don't know what it is now, because obviously it's been many years since I left school, and things keep constantly changing. We did have a prom, and this is a little bit of insight to me. I didn't want to go to my prom. I was like, no, it's not really my thing. I was never a kind of going out kind of person. I was very introverted. Ended up changing my mind a week before. I got my ticket, and then for some reason, everyone decided to vote me, and I won prom king. And I still have my sash and my awful cheap and tacky plastic crown on top of my wardrobe.
Oh, that's so cute! Wow.
So that was kind of fun.
That's like a teen movie right there.
Yeah. Oh, if only my movie was like a John Hughes movie. Sadly, it wasn't. But and then we do have things like school plays. I was in the orchestra at school plays. I learned violin at school.
Me too. Violin and clarinet. Woo!
So I was second violin for Jesus Christ Superstar year 9, and we did Beauty and the Beast. I remember, which was really cool. I think we did that in. Yeah, it was nice.
Oh.
So that's about it, really. In terms
Band
of
geeks, yeah.
Woo-hoo. In terms of grades and stuff, again, this was something that changed. So for us, you do SATs or SATs, I guess is what they're called. We have to be crass and just say SATs, So we do that. But again, this has all changed now since I've been at school. So what I'm saying now is probably very old information, because I am an aging gentleman, such as I am. And then after that, you do GCSEs for 2 years. And then after that, if you do sixth form or whatever, you have AS levels, and then your final year at school was A levels, and then obviously you go on to do a degree if that's what you want to do. I know when my parents were at school, they had things called O levels, which I don't know. And now, in terms of grading, you had like a U, which was unmarkable. You'd have F, E, D, C, A, B. B, A star, and that was like the highest mark you could get. But now I think they've changed it to like a number system, which is really weird. It's like you've got a 9 on that, and a 9 corresponds to a certain thing, and then you've got 8, but then like 8 can also overlap into 9 if you're kind of in that middle point. I don't understand. Like, the letter system was fine. Yeah. It's universal. You can understand it. So I don't know much about that now, but I know that has changed. But I do think the school environment is very different between the UK to just from like the films that I watch. It just seems very, very different. You mentioned like sorority parties and things like that. If you go to uni, you do have, we call them societies. I think that's probably in the US as well, which are like the club things that you can join and the extra things like that. I didn't do any of those because people.
I know. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. We can connect. Yeah.
I was definitely a lone wolf.
Yeah.
And I like in sororities here, it's like you have to dress the same. Like I remember my first week when they were like trying to get all the pledges. That's what they call them, like the ones that are trying to join. And I'm like, why are they all dressed the same? And I'm like, I would never do this. Like, I don't want to be dressed the same as everyone else. I want to wear whatever I want.
And we go against the grain. No sheep mentality for us in this life.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Thank you very much.
But I also agree with the prom thing. Like, I did my junior prom. Did I even go? No, there was one that I didn't go. It was either my junior or senior year. No, I think my junior one. Junior prom didn't go. So that was like my second to last year. Then senior prom, I wanted to go. I said I would only go if a certain person asked me out. But they didn't. So then I'm like, well, I don't want to go. Because I was like, I don't want to spend the money. Like, it's just dumb. Like, if I don't even get to go with the person I want. And then I ended up going with like a girlfriend of mine. So we were like each other's dates. So I ended up going with her, but it wasn't like what you see in the movies. So I was kind of sad because I always
it's never what you see.
I grew up seeing that, and I'm like, I didn't even get my prom moment, but it's okay because I didn't want to spend the money. Like, so yeah, like proms are overrated.
Agreed. You have to like get a limo and like, suits and all that whole thing. I do like wearing a suit though now. I have been convinced. I was never a guy that liked wearing suits.
Oh, but, okay, good. Suits are good. I like suits.
Suits are good.
Yeah, I remember like when I went to the one time I did go to prom my senior year with my friend, I saw my guy friends who like would always wear like t-shirts and stuff, and I saw them all dressed up nice. I'm like, wow, like you should do this more often. You look really good. Like, I'm just saying, guys, you should wear it more often. It looks really nice. It's a nice change of pace. I'm like, I didn't recognize you. What? You're my friend? Oh my gosh. Okay. So we have to talk about this because it's a really important issue before we get to the more fun, shallow stuff, law enforcement and police and everything.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because as, the world has seen, it's, here. And obviously I'm not saying this that every cop is like this, but it's just the overall culture, and the good ones you're not helping by being quiet. So I'm just saying. But a lot of the cops will say like oh well, I fear for my life, and I'm like, you should have known about like if you knew this was a dangerous job, so like you can't like just beat anyone because they look at you the wrong way because you felt threatened. Like, if you're that scared, don't be a police officer, because you just see video after video, day after day, of them just overreacting to things. Like, I saw one just yesterday about a girl in Arizona, where I'm from, super skinny, like tiny little girl, and she got pulled over for, I forgot what it was, like some minor driving infraction. And there was video, and she was asking like, why did you pull me over? Like, the guy wouldn't tell her, and a police officer wouldn't tell her, and then he just like knocked her to the ground, was like banging her head on the concrete and everything, and then you saw a picture, she was like all beat up and everything, and then he never told her why like she got pulled over. She ended up like getting booked in jail. They said because it was for a DUI, even though they tested her blood alcohol level and it was below the limit. So they will literally like make up stuff just to like arrest people. It's like all they care about is just meeting quotas, arresting people. They don't really, when it should be about just arresting the bad people and like just justice and the truth and arresting the right people instead of just locking up any random person. I saw another video where the guy wouldn't get out of the car. He got pulled over, and he just wanted to know, why are you pulling me over? And the cops will not say, well, they're like, you just need to do what I tell you. You just need to get out of the car. And he's like, why are you pulling me over? Like, they will not explain. And they just pulled the guy out of the car, threw him down. He's like, and then you could hear him like, you're standing on my neck, please get off my neck. Another one where they're on somebody's neck, and it's just over and over, just seeing this all the time. So, I see videos of like crazy stuff that happens in the UK sometimes. Like there's a guy with like a machete on like a street, and like they kind of got these like shields, and they were able to kind of like surround the guy, and they were able to like apprehend him. And I'm like, see, you can do it without shooting the guy and killing him. Whereas like here, like, even if the guy doesn't have a machete, if they just like look the wrong way, the cops will shoot them because they'll be like, well, I felt threatened by the way he looked at me. It's like, you don't have to shoot everyone. So I don't know, like, can you talk a bit, maybe if you had any experience with the law enforcement there?
Well, I haven't had any experience like firsthand, I can thankfully say. I'm a very good law-abiding citizen. Thank you very much. But I will say that is probably one of the big differences. I mean, if you want to go to your Second Amendment there in the US, that's a huge difference. Now, there are obviously some cops that carry guns in this country, absolutely. But I think that the whole gun thing is very fast and loose in the UK, in the US, sorry, compared to here. And in terms of like, bad cops and everything like that, racist cops, whatever you want to say, from all walks, like you're always going to have that in every single country, in every walk of life. It's always going to happen. It sucks and it's really, really shitty. I don't know if I can swear on this. Sorry, I just did.
That's okay.
But you're going to have that everywhere. And I think that the moments where it happens, obviously they are broadcast everywhere. And I think a lot of police are kind of tarred with the same brush. Which can be quite damning on them, but the police also do a lot of great work too. And I think that if you didn't have them, oh boy, you would notice. I think the world would be doomed into like a kind of post-apocalyptic, every man for himself, Mad Max kind of world if we didn't have some kind of law enforcement. Again, that's a different conversation for another time, how you view human nature and our innate ability to cause destruction and hurt others and things like that. But in the UK, you have three types of law enforcement agency. You have territorial police services, and that kind of makes up the bulk of your general policing. You've got the national law enforcement agencies, which is like the National Crime Agency and the British Transport Police. And then you've got a third one, which is like a miscellaneous police service, which is just allocated to small, like different places and things like that. But I mean, police get a bad rep from all walks of life. My best friend's actually a police officer, and he's told me some of the things that he deals with on a regular basis. And it's not for everyone. Like Jesus, like some of the things that he's seen, he's had to deal with, and what goes on. I can imagine some situations, it is like a life and death situation. Now, I'm not saying that a police officer needs to kneel on someone's neck for the best part of 10 minutes. Absolutely not. And, they have training and they should be aware of that. And that's on the individual essentially. But I can imagine that if you suspect someone's got a gun, and say if you're a cop and you've got a family and you've got like, I don't know, wife, husband, kids or whatever at home waiting for you, and if you ease up and you don't show a little bit of force, then that could be your life and you could not be going home that night. So it must be an incredibly high pressure situation for a lot of police doing that day to day, not knowing what's going to happen. So I have got a lot of respect for the police. It's just unfortunately the bad ones broadcast on the media and everything like that do tend to spoil it for a lot of other people and a lot of other good police officers. So,
well, I mean, it's a culture thing. Like, I'm just saying, because I've seen interviews with former cops who all say that they go through this training where it's like, it's just, they're basically rewarded for arrest. They have to meet these quotas, so they will make up things to arrest people. And I've heard of a lot of different cases where, again, cops are making things up to just arrest somebody and so innocent people go to jail while the actual perpetrators are out. It's just really, really bad. And I've met some good cops too. I know some good cops, but that's why we kind of that's why a lot of us are really upset, because it's like, it's not enough to just have the good cops if like you're not going to do anything, you're not going to speak up. Like in New York, in Buffalo, I don't know if you saw a video where they like knocked down this like old guy and he started bleeding from the ears, and like none of them, there were so many of them, none of them tried to like help him. And then they fired like the two that were kind of involved with knocking him down. And then like I think it was 50 or so of them resigned because they were so upset that they fired those cops. So they were on their side. They were on the cops' side who knocked the old man down. And a lot of the cops who end up finally murdering someone, they've had complaints before. So it's a pattern. It's not like it's their first time. They decided to be horrible. Yeah. They've had complaints about them, but they have a police union here, so they just defend all of them, and here for us, like a lot of times it's not enough to fire the cops, because a lot of times they'll go get hired somewhere else. So it's like they still don't get the help. Like a lot of them need mental help because they overreact to things. They obviously need help. They're not well, but they just go get hired somewhere else and they just hurt people in another place. So that's why
there definitely needs to be better checks and balances on that kind of thing. Absolutely. And investigations, like, especially if you said, if there's like a cop that does something horrible, has committed things similar to that, or there's been an escalation over time, there needs to be definitely more of a crackdown on that and more checks and balances on that kind of stuff. But I think it's going to be everlasting, unfortunately. I mean, we'd love to live in a utopia where everything's right in the world, but I think that you are always going to have those really, really despicable, horrible cops. But it's not just, it's not all of them. I don't think we can say it's all of them. It's definitely not all of them. I think it's a very small percentage. But if you're going to go into the whole system thing, I don't know much about it, so I don't feel like I'm like the proper person to like talk in depth about that stuff. I don't know facts and figures. I can't throw statistics at you and everything like that and percentages.
Well, hopefully things are starting to change. We're starting to see little changes now, so hopefully, we just need to kind of get the better ones to be more of the percentage of the cops and like the bad ones, and hopefully maybe act out, like kind of don't be quiet, because a lot of times if they stay quiet because if they say anything they get fired because they would rather defend the other cops. So that's kind of why the good cops are kind of in a difficult position. So now we're going to talk about more lighthearted stuff, the fun stuff. So let's talk about popular pastimes. Here we might see some overlaps. So for, popular pastimes for people, like our age, going to the movies, sports events, shopping, bars, clubs. Some people like to go to the gym, but not that many according to obesity rate. So, but one thing for me that I feel like, this is why I feel like I kind of the odd man out here is, before I brought you on, I talked a little bit about how I don't feel like I fit in here. Things like museums, classical concerts, theater, that's something that I enjoy, but it's not a really popular thing in terms of people our age here, because when I go, I'm like the youngest person there. Yeah. Everyone else is like somebody's grandma, grandfather. So to me, that's kind of where I'm like, I'm like the odd man out here because I actually enjoy these things, but nobody else is here. So, what do you guys like to do over there in the UK?
Well, I mean, if I'm going to talk for the general population here, the herd, shall I say, because I'm kind of like you. I love like all the arts and stuff like that. Museums are cool. I'd love to go to more museums, actually. I need to take another trip to London when we can start traveling and properly and effectively and things like that. It'd be nice, because Lord knows there's Jesus Christ, the amount of concentrated museums in London is ridiculous. But so if you love that stuff, go to London when you can. I would say UK's pastime is definitely drinking. Now this isn't
I
me,
would agree.
But my God, the amount of alcohol that some people in the UK consume, it's a wonder they're not dead. I don't know how they do it. I think some UK people willingly go on holiday to drink themselves to death. It's mad. And the thing is, you see videos of, it's always UK people as well, just causing a ruckus and like fighting and getting drunken and belligerent.
Oh yeah, bar fights, is that a common pastime?
It's like the Wild West, like stall out the window every time. But drinking, I would definitely say, is a massive one. It's huge. Now, I've never been much of a drinker, contrary to my drinking on my YouTube channel. That's a freak occurrence. That's never going to happen again.
Contrary to me drinking on this podcast on every episode, this is the only time I drink. It's not like I'm drinking every time, just when I'm filming. This is why I like to drink, because by the time I record the episode, I'm like, I'm ready to have a drink. Okay, so don't think I'm a drunk.
Right. Why don't you tell the listeners what you're drinking? And,
I did. I told them in my intro that I recorded earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we have a video one day, those sponsors one day.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that's one. I think sport is a big one. I don't know if sport's a separate category for you.
It is.
Okay, I won't go into that, but I think that's definitely a big one. And talking about sport.
Oh, okay.
The weather is a goddamn pastime in the UK. You cannot go like 5 minutes of small talk without someone bringing up the weather. It is a thing. It's not a stereotype. When the stereotype happens so often, it becomes fact, okay? Just talking about the weather is a very British thing, I think. Complaining about the weather. We like a good moan. We like a good complain in the UK. and the weather brings us closer. Like if
Oh,
like
okay.
right now,
So
it's
you
very
bond.
overcast. Yeah,
Yeah, here too. I'm in
yeah. So see,
Miami. It's cloudy. It's raining in here, so I'm kind of feeling like I'm in England right now. It's
uh-huh.
awesome. Like,
So if we were like, creating awkward small talk, I'd be like, wow, this weather today, like Jesus, like we it was like sunny last week. What's going on with it? You can't, it just and it creates conversation. It's a very British thing.
okay.
Um, queuing. Queuing is a very British thing. We believe in order and queuing for things. And if
Oh,
someone pushes in, you will get the British tut, which is, and then an eye roll. That's a very British thing, I would say.
okay, okay.
But in terms of like going for fun, yeah, like going to movies, eating, I think is a very good
Oh
social
yeah.
thing. If any, I don't know if there are any British listeners to this, but going for a cheeky Nando's with your mates, that's
What's that?
people
I
will
need to know.
understand what that means.
Well, I need to
Uh,
know.
Nando's is a chain restaurant. It's
Mm,
mostly chicken.
okay.
And if you just like, oh, I'll go for a cheeky Nando's with your mates, it's like, oh, should we go to Nando's and have some
Ah,
chicken? That's
is
basically
it?
it.
Because here, if somebody there's that's like a nickname that's short for Fernando. They usually call them Nando.
Right.
So is that short for Fernando? Is it cheeky Fernando?
I don't know if I think if you were
Okay.
asking on the streets for a cheeky Fernando, you'd probably get a very, very different thing. So
Yeah.
probably best not to ask that in some parts of the
You know,
UK.
I'm like, all like, obviously not from there. I'll be like, hi, can I have a cheeky Fernando? And then you're like, no, shut
Well,
up.
here's our waiter, Fernando, serving you at your table today.
Wow.
Yeah, no, please don't do that.
Okay.
Please don't do that. I'd need to be your guide if we were going to Nando's, I think, because you're just going to
Okay.
land yourself in so much trouble. So food is definitely a big thing. Maybe I'm just listing the things for me because food is a big thing with me.
No,
We'll
food
talk
is big. I mean, obviously here we're like the fattest country in the world. So obviously,
I think we're the second fattest, so we're catching
I
you
think
guys up.
Mexico might be the
Oh,
second.
okay.
I think we're like all like the top
We're
three.
up there. We're up
U.S.,
there somewhere.
Mexico, is it UK or just
Yeah.
England? Okay, UK.
UK. I'd say UK.
Oh, geez, just horrible influence of America, of course.
Those
So now
portion
let's
sizes, man. Jesus.
talk about popular food. We're gonna talk about chains later, so just like food in general. So here,
Okay.
usually the most popular ones are pizza, originally from Italy, burgers, originally from Germany, hot dogs. I think that's from here. I'm not sure. Ribs. They just love their meat over here. And then just like sweet stuff, brownies, apple pie, which I think was actually invented in like France, I think, or maybe England, I'm not sure. So just foods in general, what are popular ones in the UK?
I'll say
Fish
if you
and
do start to
chips.
see if chips, yeah, there you go, there you go. Not fries. Fries are very different. You have to qualify the chip and the fry. They're two
Okay.
very different things, part of the same family, but very distinctly different.
What's
in
the
my opinion.
difference for those of us who don't know?
So a chip for me is like fish and chips. That's like number one British thing, I would say. Fish and chips, chippy tea on a Friday night. You get your battered cod, battered fish, and you get your chips that are submerged in all kinds of horrible, disgusting fat that's probably going to have severe health elements, health knock-on effects. Chip, I would say, is like a big wedge of potato, like a big chunky.
Oh.
What's the shape I'm looking for? The long whatever. I can't
Oblong?
remember.
Oblong? I don't know.
Oblong. There you go. Yeah, big chunky oblong shaped things that are tasty and delicious and amazing with salt and vinegar.
Oh,
That
okay.
is a chip to me. A fry is like when you go to McDonald's and you get like the really thin, long ones. That's a
Mhm.
fry to me.
Okay.
Like skinny fries or whatever, or like curly fries. They're always like the thin things. A
Yeah.
chip is a wedge.
Okay.
You know where you stand with a good British chip. It's like, chips. There you go.
Okay.
So I would say that's a very British dish. If you see me start to salivate, by the way, then it might be a thing that starts happening when I start talking about food. It just happens. The Sunday roast actually is probably the most distinguished British food, I would say. The good Sunday roast, it's almost become a tradition. Well, it is a tradition.
Mm.
It's meat, veg, potatoes, Yorkshire puddings, which are amazing and do come from Yorkshire. It's the northern part of the map, not Scotland, but northern. If you've got any Game of Thrones listeners out there, kind of have the accent like, you know nothing, Jon Snow. That's like northern. Southern is very posh and there is like a class thing. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So the Sunday roast, vegetables, tons of gravy, just piled high, amazing. That's kind of like, well, usually it's like a family thing, sit around the table. We never really had that in my household. It's just kind of sit on the couch and watch telly and have it on your lap kind of thing. I guess it's not too dissimilar to like a Christmas dinner. I think it's very similar. So,
But you have it every Sunday instead of once a year?
well, I'm sure some people can't be bothered to cook it because it's a lot of effort. It's so much effort to cook all that stuff. But it tends to be like the traditional thing. So I would say fish and chips and Sunday roast are the two most British things. And then you've obviously got a lot of other popular things now, like curries. A lot of people like curries. You've got pizza. That's definitely me.
Zzz's or ZZ, we went. What is
Oh,
it? ZZ's?
ZZ's was really good. ZZ's. So what am I put? This is a tangent, and then
Okay.
I'll bring it back on topic. This is a personal goal for me. I love pizza. Pizza is my favorite food.
Me too. It's my favorite food too. I love pizza.
I go to my happy place when I have a good pizza. You know, it's like when you take that bite into it and your eyes kind of roll back in your head, and you're just,
oh my gosh,
all is well in the world. And every pizza place I see, I want to try a pizza from every pizza place I see as an own personal quest, so that one day I will know what the greatest pizza is in the world that I have tasted. Well, and I will say the ZZ's we went to, that's up there. That's top three, definitely top three. And that was a vegan pizza as well. Yeah, now I'm not a vegan.
It was so good. And but, you didn't feel like you just ate like a ton. That's like the surprising thing. You didn't feel like, oh my God.
That vegan cheese as well. Oh my God. It was a taste sensation. I don't think I've ever
So you have to go to Italy. You have to go where it originated from.
I know. That's going to be like the end game. That's going to be, right, this is where it all changes. And I pile on the pounds from every single pizza place I see. Anyway, I think that covers it for food. I think they're probably the most British things out there.
So now you have to explain what Yorkshire, is it Yorkshire? Am I saying it right?
Yorkshire pudding, yeah. It's Worcester sauce. I can't even say it now. Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce. Yeah, when you get like Worcestershire sauce, I'm like, you're just butchering that word. Please stop. I almost butchered the word. So I'm going to get a precise definition of a Yorkshire pudding so that I don't sully the name of these.
Is it actually because here when we hear puddings, for us it's sweet, something sweet, chocolate pudding, vanilla pudding, banana pudding.
So here we go. So a Yorkshire pudding, this is according to Wikipedia here. So take it up with the people who wrote this on Wikipedia if it's not to your liking. Yorkshire pudding is a common English side dish, a baked pudding baked from a batter of eggs, flour, milk, and water. So it's just kind of, I wish I could bring up a picture. It's just kind of like this sort of bowl-shaped thing with an indent at the top. So if you pour gravy on, then the gravy kind of gets into it, and it's rippable. It's kind of like bread-like. It's a little bit crispy when you bite into it, and it's just delicious. You can get two different kinds. You can get smaller ones, which I prefer, or if you go to Yorkshire and you get the legit ones, you can get entire plate-sized ones, and they kind of load the dinner inside the pudding as opposed to being like a little side thing. It's basically just battered carby goodness, really. And
so it originated in Yorkshire.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one thing I have to try. I have to go to Yorkshire and try Yorkshire pudding from there, because I did that when I went to Chicago. I had to try like the Chicago deep dish style pizza, which was humongous.
Don't.
Big.
I'm actually going to like start crying on camera right now. That sounds amazing.
New York, you have to try the New York style pizza, like New York cheesecake. You have to. So one day I'm going to try some Yorkshire pudding from Yorkshire.
One day I'm going to get myself to the US and I'm going to get so fat and I'm going to love it.
Oh, yeah. That's usually what happens when you come to the US. Definitely gain some pounds. So now let's talk about popular chains of not just food, but just general like popular food stores. Definitely McDonald's, which we had to like spread all over the world. So I'm so sorry for all the obesity. Then Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. I actually hate donuts, so luckily I'm good with that one. Walmart. I hate Walmart. I used to work there. Target is another really popular one. So Target and Walmart, I call Target like the place you go when you don't want to go to Walmart, because it's like they have the same things as Walmart, but just like a little bit more expensive. And it's like, yeah, maybe I would rather save money by going to Walmart, but I just don't want to see those people. Because Walmart is just a little shady. It's just like more like there's a website called People of Walmart or People from, I think it's People of Walmart, and it's called that for a reason. Like Target is like a little bit higher up, like just by like half a step higher up in class than like Walmart. Like Walmart, you will see things that you wish you didn't see, people's body parts that you wish you didn't have to like. I'm like, can I erase that from my memory? Like people just go to Walmart, it doesn't matter. So I'm like, you know what? I'd rather pay a little bit more and go to Target. And plus Target, they treat their employees a lot better. They pay them more. And I know because I used to work at Walmart, they treat you like garbage. So I would rather give my money to Target than Walmart. Also, the Walton family that owns Walmart is one of the greediest, most like just worst families ever. So I don't want to give them my money. So yeah, those are kind of like the popular ones there. UK, the only one I know and miss is Tesco.
Tesco's always there for you. Yeah, we've got a lot of food stores. You've got Asda, Tesco, Aldi, which is very cheap, which is very popular now. It's good food. It sounds like a slogan. Good food for half.
Is Aldi like fancy? Is it considered more like high class or just for everyone? Like
no. So if you're going for like the high class stuff, and when you want to pay a little bit extra, it's kind of like a little bit of bravado with it. You go to Marks and Spencer, which is your it's like a clothing place, food. Genuinely, it's more expensive, and it tends to be like a kind of an ego thing, I would say. It's like, oh yes, we shop at Marks and Spencer. Here
it's Whole Foods where they'll charge you $6 for like chopped celery. Like really?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the equivalent in the UK of Marks and Spencer. Yeah, but one good thing about Marks and Spencer's though, they go all in for their Christmas adverts, and you get the most sexual food adverts at Christmas time. It's like a chocolate pudding, and it's like, this isn't just any chocolate pudding, this is a Marks and Spencer's chocolate pudding, and they'll like put the fork into it and then like chocolate will just ooze out. It's absolute food porn. It's amazing. So power to Marks and Spencer for those adverts. Thank you, keep them coming. And it's always a very sultry woman's voice over the top of it as well.
Wow. Okay. So that would get banned in the US. They would, like, conservative groups would ban it. I'm like, really? Come on.
Sex sells, like, and absolutely, like, food. It's synergistic. It's beautiful. So the second most popular is John Lewis, which is just kind of like a department store, bit of everything. You get like homeware, furniture, fashion kind of stuff in there. Oh God, what else? Popular places, IKEA, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. So okay. Obviously not a British company, but they have a lot of stores here. But it's the third most popular. I've just brought up a list of all the most popular stores. B&Q, again, another department store. It's mostly department and food stores, really.
What about do you have a popular coffee shop, or is Starbucks popular now?
So I would say at one point it was Starbucks, but okay. I actually think that Costa Coffee now has overtaken Starbucks. You'd honestly be hard pressed to hit a corner of any kind of town. There's even one being built near me now, which is absolutely mad. It seems like 10 minutes down every road, there's another Costa Coffee. It's like, is like the entire fabric of humanity based on coffee consumption? Like, how much coffee? Now, I don't drink coffee. I don't drink any caffeine. But it's like, is this like a necessity up there with like running water and food and shelter? Like, Jesus. So it's mad. So I'd say Costa Coffee is definitely the most prominent one. Another store I'm going to throw out there, Poundland is very popular now. Everything
sounds
in
like
the
a
store...
porno. Poundland. We're going to Poundland.
Oh God.
We're going to Poundland. Pound Town.
I'll use that on all the ladies. Just like, hey, want to come to Poundland with me? I'm going to take you to Poundland.
Okay, so what's Poundland?
Poundland. It's not like what you're thinking it is. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Is it like a huge meat market or something?
No. So it's just they sell bits of everything, really, like little knickknacks to like secondhand DVDs to snacks to like little, to decorations when it gets toward Christmas, whatever it happens to be. It's a bit of everything, and every item in the store is £1. Hence
so it's like our dollar store.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Okay, but yours doesn't have a rude name.
A lot funnier. So. Like, let's go to Poundland. I can't even say it without laughing. Oh my God, I can't.
I'll be the classy gent and take the lady to Poundland.
Oh my God, I can't. I don't think I can say that without laughing. Hey,
For the record, that wasn't me. That was you that came up with that. So this is all you.
I'd be like, hey, Chris, I don't have a lot of money. Can we go to Poundland?
With pleasure. Let's go.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you're going to have to practice to like not laugh and say that. Oh, sorry. That's
So not
funny.
asking for a cheeky Fernando and not giggling when you say, I want to go to Poundland.
I feel like as a woman, I can't say that.
Is that
Well,
if that's code? I feel like that has to be code, doesn't it? Really?
yeah. Well, I mean, here, if I said to somebody,
I think the takeaway from this discussion on this podcast that we've had today is that is probably the biggest difference between the UK and the US is the definition of the word
oh my
pound.
gosh, guys would be like, here's my number. You want to go to Poundland?
Oh God, we may have gone too far in a few places. Bring us home. Bring us back.
Oh, that was awesome. Oh my God. You learn something new every day. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Oh, wow. I didn't know you guys had dollar stores. I thought that was just an American thing.
No, we have them. And actually, they've one-upped Poundland. There are some very few 99p shops. I don't know if they have like, I don't think it's a land. Pound has like a whole land dedicated towards it. I think like it's just like the 99p store or something like that. It's like for 1 penny extra.
Yeah.
And the thing that I always hate in pound shops, oh God, even pound shops just sounds wrong now. You've corrupted that name for me now. Thank you for that. When you find an item in there that isn't a pound and it's like £2, I'm like, heresy, blasphemy. Like, this is wrong.
All right. So other than those, any other ones? Donut shops. Are you guys big into donuts or no? What's your pastry over there? What's your big pastry?
Oh,
scones, right? Scones?
No, maybe not this kind of area. They tend to be coastal, I think, or sort of maybe more down south. Not sure. That's also a divide. So two things. If you want to cause World War III in the UK, exclusively a civil war in the UK, you say, is it scone or scone? That's like a dialect thing. That will cause an argument. And the biggest one, what you call... oh God, right now I've got to try and define this now. This is going to sort of give away my region on the UK map if people can't tell from my accent. So you have bread, right? Like slices of bread. And that's just, like a loaf of bread or whatever. But when you're doing like a barbecue outside and you have like the buns kind of thing, like not the seeded ones, not like a proper seeded burger bun, but the kind of same thing.
Yeah.
The definition of that word is regional and has a different name. We call them batches in the Midlands. So it's like, I'm going to have like a cheese batch or something like that. Then some people go, a batch is not a name. That's a quantity. A batch of something is like, so people call it cob in some places. I'm going to have a cheese cob. Oh God, there's one that's like a stupid name. And I want to say it's pound cake. I think it actually might be pound cake, and that's hilarious that we've sort of like gone from Poundland to pound cake.
We have pound cake here, but here pound cake is sweet.
I don't know. I might be thinking there's a whole list of like different names people call it.
Okay.
And that will definitely cause ruckus. What was the question? Sorry, I think I've got pastry places. Yeah. Greg's is the pastry places of all pastry places. You get a mean sausage roll from there, or you get like slices of pizza that can be sort of like heated up. You can get like a baked bean, like pasty thing that you bite into, like flaky pastry kind of thing. Greg's is your store. Greg's.
And I just have to say I don't like scones or scones. I'm sorry, like. It's just, I don't like them because they're dry. I don't like muffins. I don't like scones. Anything that's dry, I don't like. I need something juicy, moisture, like. So I see people eating scones and I'm like, don't you want like some milk with that? Like, it's just so dry. I can't.
If you get, especially
dip
coastal,
it into something. I don't know.
I think if you go coastal, you can get like cream and like jam on. That's quite nice with like tea or something like that. Well, that's a very British thing. I didn't throw tea in there, did I? That's the whole thing.
It's
it's got a whole history to that. But yeah, no, I could eat a scone, but I'm kind of with you on that. Like, I'd never eat a muffin or something like that.
Here, when I see people get them, I never see them like put jam or anything on it. They just eat it. Like, I'm like, oh, so dry.
Oh no, that's
what's wrong with
you?
you?
No, that's wrong. Get some. Can you get some butter on that at least or something?
Yeah,
Jesus.
please. Here they love butter. Like, why not? Now let's talk about popular sports. So the most popular ones here in the U.S. are definitely football, but not your kind of football, our kind of football, which doesn't really make sense because, they just decide to steal the name. And then baseball and basketball. So what about in the UK?
So football was the one I was going to go with. Obviously, the biggest difference. I think the sport that probably corresponds the most to
football, but here the one they consider soccer because people will get confused.
Soccer. That's like sorry, I had to.
Even though it should be football, it should be football because.
Thank you. Yes, that's my argument. Thank you. But I think probably the sport that corresponds the most to American football. Obviously, there are huge differences in the rules and things like that, but it would probably be rugby. Do you guys have rugby in the US, or is that
some universities play it, but it's not like a big thing where
right?
Yeah,
I think it'd be too similar to American football, probably just in terms of the layout, like kind of like the whole kicking the ball into touch and things like that, kicking it over a giant goal or touchdown or whatever. So that would probably be a similar sport there. I'd say tennis is very, very British, and cricket might be the most, that's definitely up there. That probably is the most gentlemanly sport is cricket. Okay. Actually, no, rugby. There's an argument there that rugby is the most gentlemanly sport. There's a thing that men play rugby, boys play football. There's a lot of hooliganism that goes on with football. I'm sure it goes on with a lot of sports and everything like that.
The fights.
People are killed over football teams. It's like, this is just absolute madness.
Yeah.
And you obviously have like your big rivalries between football teams and everything like that. Now, I'm not a sports guy. I have never been a sports guy in my entire life. I've never really understood it or the hype around it. But I know a lot of people, I've seen people get into heated football debates. If I'm going to go for a sport that I enjoy watching, it'd probably be boxing, but I don't follow it enough to like know everything about it. If there's a big match, like a big fight, I'll watch it. But I'd say probably then, tennis, cricket, rugby, and football/soccer.
Another reason I like the UK better because tennis is my favorite sport. That's what I play. That's my best sport, and I don't really watch it as much because I just prefer to play sports more than watch them. But I would definitely love to go to like Wimbledon one day, just to be there with my people. That'd be amazing. But
sort of more tennis. You like your pub sports as well. I think these do technically count as a sport as well. We have snooker or pool, which is like your billiards kind of thing. Okay. And darts as well, which tends to be quite a pub sport. I don't know if you have that, just like like 180, that whole thing, said in an obnoxious voice when the commentator says it on the TV. So there's another two little side ones I'd chuck in. But
darts, you watch it or you play it?
Both. So like in a pub, like you can play darts. There's usually a dartboard in there, but it's usually broadcast on the TV. That gets quite a lot of viewers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never seen darts on TV, but I've played it. Like if it's there, I'll play. But I don't know how to really keep score. It's more like just make sure I hit the bullseye. The closest you get, that'd be cool.
There's too much math involved in it for me. Like it's just
especially after you've been drinking, you're like, I don't want to do math right now. Just hopefully
I don't like a pint of lager now, just chasing down like a pint of lager and just playing darts.
So I definitely want to go to Wimbledon one day, and I definitely want to go to a football match. I don't know which team to root for, which one's not going to get me killed. I don't know. Should I root for Manchester United or another one?
It's a safe bet. It's a safe bet. I double check on your rivalries beforehand and check whether they're playing at home or playing on enemy's soil. Like it's a whole thing.
Something's gonna happen. Like I'm gonna get attacked for saying I want to go to Pound Town or Poundland. I'm sorry. Because I want to Cheeky Fernando, and then I'm gonna root for the wrong team. Like I need protection.
I mean, well, I'm sure you would need protection if you were going to Pound Town, but Jesus, like...
I'm like, that's not what I meant. I wanted some affordable items. That's all I wanted.
Right. Okay.
All right. So now let's talk about popular, annual events and festivals. Here in the U.S., we have Coachella, South by Southwest in Texas. I've been to Coachella a few times, but I never want to go again because it's just horrible. Too many people. We have the Sundance Film Festival, but that's more for like people in the industry. I definitely want to go there someday. We have Country Thunder, and that's like the music festival for country music fans. And then Ultra Music Festival, and that's here in Florida. They had to cancel it this year, but it's a big electronic music festival, and people from all over the world come here. So are there any big annual events there in the UK?
So a couple of music events that off the top of my head, you have Glastonbury, which is a big one.
Muse performed there, my favorite band.
Usually renowned for being exceptionally muddy and dire circumstances, and it's just horrible. People in wellies, that tends to be the look. Lots of mud, lots of chaos. Download Festival is another big one. Again, a few years ago, there were pictures. We had a lot of rain, a hell of a lot of rain, like even more rain than is humanly possible for the UK. And I have seen prisoner of war camps that looked like they had better conditions than the people did that went to Download Festival. You had like tents everywhere, and the water was like above the tents, and everything was it's mad. I could never do it. I like my creature comforts too much, my home comforts.
I honestly would prefer that over Coachella. I didn't like Coachella. It's too hot. Like, I'm sorry. I prefer cold weather over hot weather, because with cold weather you can always put more layers on, but with hot weather, even you could be completely naked and still be hot. It's like no matter what you do, you are still sweating and almost like going to get heat stroke. So I cannot with Coachella. It's just too hot for me. And I like the rain and being all sad in the rain, so it's okay.
Imagining you're in a music video or some kind. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one who does that. That's funny. Have London Fashion Weeks and stuff like that. You have you have Glasgow Film Festival. The BAFTAs is probably the big one that's always, obviously that's a big one. The
British Academy Awards, basically.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Film Awards. Yeah, it's usually just before Oscar season. Then you have like Golden Globes, BAFTAs, Oscars tend to be how it goes. You have your patron saint days. So we have like, again, split into the different regions. You have a Welsh patron saint. You have England, Scotland, and Ireland as well. We have St. George, who slayed the dragon in like folklore and things like that, which is meant to be a big day. We don't really make in England, we don't make much of a fuss about our patron saint or anything like that. Now, St. Patrick's Day in Ireland, Jesus, that's a whole thing. And obviously in the US as well, it does have a lot of Irish heritage, Irish citizenship there. That's a huge thing, as you can imagine. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. You have Cheltenham, which is like your horse racing, where people go to wear the big fancy hats and, go all out for it. I don't agree with horse racing. I don't like it. But yeah, I'd say that's kind of it, really. There's probably a few more, but they're the ones that stick out. London Marathon, that's a big one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
One day, maybe I might, but it's about 27 miles to run. That's a lot of cardio to do in one go.
I don't think I could ever do. I did a 13K though, like when I went there, and that was probably the most I would run. I'm like 13K, I'm good. I don't know if I could do like a whole marathon, like. It was too much for me to do 13K. I hate running. I did it because I forced myself to do it, because I'm like, I want to see. I hate running, so I'll be proud of myself if I could complete a 13K, since I hate it. And I did, but I would. And people are like, why don't you like move up to a marathon? I'm like, heck no. Like I said, I hate running.
Another one I'd say I just throw in there real quick is Stonehenge, the summer solstice. You get a lot of kind of Kate Bush, Wuthering Heights kind of people, a lot of weed, a lot of mind-bending drugs, a lot of kind of like the hippie kind of thing go there to Stonehenge. Very strange, ethereal place with a lot of sort of mystery behind it and how it was made and how they got the stones there. But yeah, I'd probably say those are the big ones. There are more, obviously, but yeah.
So I need to just mention some of my favorite shows that are from the UK. Like, first of all, I don't know how you guys how you feel about Skins. I love that show. That's one of my favorite shows. I've never seen it.
I don't watch much TV. I need to watch more. So good.
They tried to remake it here in the US. It only lasted one season because it was horrible. And it was like the same. It was remade by like the original creators of the first show, but it's like No, like you can't. And then I love comedy. I love Monty Python. I love the Inbetweeners.
Yes.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you watch
The
them.
British version of Inbetweeners is comic gold. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched I think they had 2 movies.
Yep. So 3 seasons, 2 movies.
Yeah, I love that show. So that's something I do appreciate about UK comedy, but like a lot like or just entertainment, and people here don't really sadly know about it. And then they try to remake Inbetweeners for MTV here again. It failed, horrible. And I'm like, just stop.
I think that's actually one of the biggest differences I would say between UK and US as well is comedy. It's a very different style of humor. I'd say that US tends to be, obviously there's exceptions to the rules always. I'd say US comedy is much more literal. Yeah. Whereas I'd say UK comedy is very sarcastic, sort of like witty, quippy.
Dry? Would you say dry?
Dry, yeah. There's the dry British humor kind of thing to it, which is obviously there's good comedy on both sides. There absolutely is, but I would say if I was going to chalk it up to a difference, because there is a difference, there is a considerable difference, I'd say.
And I haven't seen did you watch I haven't seen the original Office. How would you compare that one with
I haven't watched the original Office, but I think there is a big difference, and I think it is that dryness. It is that kind of very, well, as I said, just dry sense of humor, very matter of fact, very sort of conversational kind of thing. Whereas I think American, it can be literal, and it's very larger than life kind of thing. It's very exuberant, whereas I think that British humor tends to be a bit more restrained in some areas. Other British comedies that I like, Blackadder is fantastic. Again, that's kind of that sarcastic thing with Rowan Atkinson.
Oh yeah, Mr. Bean. I love Mr. Bean.
Yeah, Mr. Bean. That's very. Yeah, I'd say out of all the things, so in the UK, I'd say Mr. Bean and Blackadder are his main 2. But I think definitely in the US, Mr. Bean is like, is up there. What are the UK comedies? The IT Crowd's very good.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one.
Oh my God, Faulty Towers. Jesus, Only Fools and Horses. Did you like Bottom, The Young Ones? So many.
Do you like Monty Python? Because Monty Python, I feel, is something that I love Monty Python, but people like they either hate it or love it. Like here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's very much a love it or hate it kind of show, and I'm kind of in the same camp. I think that the jokes that land and the sketches that land in the show or in the movies are hilarious and brilliant and timeless, but there are also kind of like a lot of just sort of loose ends or jokes that go nowhere, which is kind of part of their comedy. So it's very middle of the road for me. When they nail it, it's some of the best comedy out there. When it's just kind of not, then I don't really care for it. I don't own Monty Python, like the series, like Monty Python's Flying Circus or anything like that. It's not one that I'm particularly head over heels to watch.
Do you like the movies or no?
I do like the movies. I love Holy Grail. Holy Grail is one of my favorite comedy films ever made.
Me too.
Life of Brian has a lot of good moments.
I love Meaning of Life, but a lot of people don't like it. Like, because I think
that's the one where I'm.
I think the song about the sperm is hilarious. Every sperm is sacred. No, it is.
Yeah, exactly. So there are moments of Meaning of Life that I love, but there's a lot of moments that, like Mr. Creosote, just whatever, like the whole intro with like the pirate ship and stuff. I'm like, what's this all about? But every sperm is sacred. The space song and everything like that is great. The sex education class and stuff is hilarious. I don't know. So that one's more middle of the road for me.
I feel like maybe a lot of people here in America maybe don't like it because I feel like it's the kind of like their stuff, a lot of it you have to kind of pay attention to kind of get the jokes. Some of them are kind of like more subtle, and if you're not paying attention you won't get it, or if you're just dumb. But people here, like, it's not so obvious sometimes, so they won't understand it. Because my first film that I made when I was, I don't know, like 19 for a 48-hour film festival, a lot of it was influenced by Monty Python. So I screened it for friends, and they were like all distracted in the middle. Like they weren't even paying attention. They were like on their phone talking. I'm like, you're just missing all the jokes. You have to pay attention. And then they wouldn't get it. They'd be like, well, what? And I'm like, well, you just missed a joke because you weren't paying attention. It's not the kind of like super loud, like potty humor or like just I don't know, just it's more you have to pay attention to get the joke. So
That's
didn't
one of
pay
my
attention.
biggest pet peeves is when I'm watching a movie with someone. I'm like, you need to watch this movie, and they're on their phone constantly, and
Yeah.
I'm say like, you see, you just missed that bit, and then I have to kind of relay what just happened.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
And I don't know if you ever saw this, one of my favorite movies ever, because it combined like two of my favorite things, which was Monty Python and the Beatles. And it was a mockumentary, which my first film was a mockumentary. It was by Eric Idle. I think he directed and he starred in it. And it was called The Ruddles. And it was like a spoof of the Beatles. And
Ooh, no, I
George
haven't seen
Harrison, which I loved, was a huge fan of Monty Python. And so he actually had a little part in the movie. He played like a reporter. He had like white hair and like a white mustache and everything. And they actually recorded like a whole album as the Ruddles, but they like each song was like a parody of a Beatles song. So if you know the Beatles, you could like you knew which song they were parodying. But it's one of my favorite movies ever. So if you love the Beatles, if you love mockumentaries, watch it. It's called The Ruddles. All You Need Is Cash. It's so good.
I love Eric Idle. Eric Idle and John Cleese were like my favorite two of the Pythons.
Good.
So I definitely need to check
When
that
I was
out.
younger, I had a crush on Michael Palin from Monty Python.
Yeah.
Even though he was like way older, but back in the day he was really cute. So I'm like, oh, he's so cute. He's a cute one. But anyway, I had to mention Monty Python and the In-Betweeners and all of them because I love them and I wish more people appreciated them here. So now let's talk about, I don't know if this is that much different, just dating culture, just for people like around our age.
Oh boy.
So the apps.
Oh Jesus. Oh, we're going down this rabbit hole.
So here we have, obviously we have Tinder, which I think they use like everywhere now. We have Bumble.
We got Tinder.
Which is where the girls like make the first move. That's
weird.
For me.
That's a weird power shift to me, and I don't like it.
Yeah, that's not for me. Like it's like they try to make it sound empowering, but I'm like, no thanks.
I think you're a traditionalist, aren't you?
I'm more traditional, so I'm like,
yeah.
no. I need to know that they are interested in me first. And then they have other ones called Coffee and Bagel. They have Grindr, obviously, for the gay people. They have one called, I think there's one that was more for like people looking for relationships, but I forgot what it was called. But I'm like still, I'm pretty sure people still are there to hook up. Like it's so hard to find like people who actually want a relationship. So I guess here it's more, instead of like who makes the first move, I feel like here it's more like now it's half and half. There are some girls that make the first move now, but I feel like it got to the point where it's like girls have been doing it too much that guys are lazy now because it ruins it for us traditional women because now guys will not make the first move. And also like when I have the few times that I did try to make the first move, didn't work. So didn't work out. So I'm like, this is not empowering. This stinks. And I've talked to a lot of my guy friends and it depends. Some guys will say different things, but my like closer friends, they said that they don't like when a girl makes the first move, that they feel like it comes off as desperate. And that's definitely something I don't want to put off, because for me, I see it as more like, oh, I'm just showing interest, but if it's going to come off as desperate, which is not the case, then I don't want to put off that vibe because I just wanted to show I'm interested, but that I think you're cute. But I guess if it comes off as desperate, then no thank you. So
I think with some women, I think there's always a stigma attached that if they make the first move and they're the ones chasing, then they might appear a bit fast and loose kind of thing. I think there's definitely a stigma attached to it. So you just have to leave the fast and loose stuff for us guys, right? That's how it works.
Yeah.
But I can see it from like a traditional standpoint. But dating and stuff in terms of, you have like the online dating thing now, which I think is probably more popular because no one talks to each other anymore.
Yeah.
And obviously under these circumstances with lockdown and things like that, they are kind of, they are an outlet, I guess.
But before it was like bars. Most people like here, if we want to go meet someone, they go to bars or clubs. That's usually like the go-to place, which for me never worked because I'm interested in like relationships. So it's like you don't go to bars or clubs for that. So.
I'd say a bar, you're probably slightly better than a club. If you're going to a club to find the woman or man of your dreams, then it ain't going to happen. Absolutely, it's not going to happen. Maybe the man or woman of your dreams for one night, perhaps, but certainly not for like longevity. We do have Tinder. It's bloody awful. It's terrible. We have not that I have any experience in that field or anything.
Come on.
Oh wow, we're going down. I mean, I do have this bottle of Gentleman's Jack. Maybe it's now the right time to. I need to go get a glass.
Come on. We need you to consume the truth serum. Let's go.
Yes, it is. It really is. A drunken heart tells a sober mind. That's always one of my mottos.
Okay.
It's very true. Other apps we have OkCupid, which is also terrible. Plenty of Fish, which is also terrible.
Those are so old, I think.
They are, but they're the only ones we kind of have. We don't have Coffee and Bagel. Bumble we have, but I don't think a lot of people use it in this country. Another reason
I prefer to be on there.
Yeah. So
it's not for me. It's not for me.
I mean, it's a whole thing, isn't it? Just like the whole.
So okay, let me ask you, since you have, from your experience, when you've had a match, have any girls like kind of reached out to you before you reached out to them? And if so, did you think, did you get a vibe that they were desperate or no?
No. Very few times, very few times I'll reach out first. And usually, and this is not me tooting my own horn, this is genuinely what usually the first messages are. It's like, oh my God, your hair is amazing. And like heart eye emoji. I'm just, thanks. It's like, what else am I meant to answer to that? Like, thank you. You can
like compliment her back.
I'd probably say something like, you're not bad yourself, or something like that, because I can't let it go to their head. You gotta keep them. You gotta be a little bit.
But you also have to be nice. Like let me just tell you. Let me tell you from a girl's perspective.
Okay, you tell me.
If I gave you a compliment, and you said, oh, thanks, and then you didn't say anything back, I'm like, oh, okay, guess he's not interested. Move on to the next dude. Mm-hmm. That's what I would think.
I think a lot of times is like, it'll be like, message exchange, ghosted, and just people disappear into the ether. It's just like, you swiped right on me as well, like this wasn't, this was a thing. I think a lot of people play Tinder like a video game. It's just like swipe. Oh, I got a match. Swipe. I think that's kind of how it goes.
I have heard lots of guys say that, like, when the few times I was on there, I was super selective, because that's how I am in real life too. So I think I would say I liked 1% of like everyone I saw. 1%. And guys, I've heard so many of them say that they will swipe right on all of them because they want to increase their chances of getting a match. Yeah. I'm like, still, you have no standards, basically.
No. But I will say, and this might make me, this is not me sounding misogynistic, and in fact, I have heard women say this about the guys on there as well. They do, mostly the type of women on there do kind of look like they've all come off some kind of assembly line. It's always the same kind of look. It's, like the Kim K kind of lip thing and the makeup thing and the same poses. It's hilarious. It's the same poses. It's like the camera over the back in the mirror kind of bit. It's just like, can you not? Like, it's just, if Snapchat filters, that is one of my biggest.
The doggy ones? Stop with the dog ones.
If I see even an inkling of a Snapchat filter on any one of those pictures, it's an immediate swipe left.
No.
I'm having none of it.
Yeah, I agree.
But yes, I will get off my soapbox now.
People need to stop with those. Like, stop. You're a grown adult. Stop using Snapchat. I mean, you can use them for fun, but don't put them on your dating profile, please. Mm-hmm. Also, put some pictures of you with friends, because if it's only you, I'm gonna assume you have no friends, and that's not attractive. So if it's only selfies,
I need to.
I'm gonna assume you have no friends.
I'm gonna double check my profile now. Thanks for the advice on that. That's some good
because if someone is by themselves, you get a creeper vibe. You're like, okay, so no one, like, you need they call it social validation. If other people accept you, if that other person sees other people accepting you, or like kind of validating you, it makes you more attractive, because it's like, oh, you're more socially accepted. So if like you seem like you have friends, that's more attractive than someone who's just in all the pictures are by himself in his room. It's like, do you like have friends? Like, it's just kind of. Also, get more pictures that are not selfies. Get other people to take pictures of you, because also that helps. Because again, if it's all selfies, you by yourself, we're gonna assume you have no friends. Like, you couldn't get one person to take a picture of you, And I have dating coach friends, so I got that from them too. And it makes sense because I'm like that too. If I see an Instagram profile where it's all selfies and nobody else, I'm like, you're either super egotistical or you have no friends, and that's not attractive. So,
or a little from column A and a little from column B.
Yeah, which again is not good. Now, just like general things about the culture, just kind of things that I've read and things I've noticed from, living here and the little bit of time I was over there. So here, I'm more of an introvert, so that's another reason I kind of feel like I don't really fit in here. It's just, this is a very extroverted country. People kind of like force you to, like, if I just want to walk my dog, I can't do it in peace because people like expect you to talk to them. And I'm like, can I just, I don't, and it doesn't help. I wear these humongous things.
Oh, Jesus, they're pretty special.
And guys will still try to talk to you. And I mean, I can hear them, but I pretend I don't because this is my sign that, like, I don't want to talk to you. But they don't understand. They will still try to talk to you. And then I've had people yell at me because I don't talk to them, because I don't reply to them, but I just keep ignoring them. But I'm like, you're doing this to yourself. You're the one who started talking to me when I had headphones on. So you're totally getting mad and it's all your fault because you're the one who started this. Like, I didn't look at you to try to get your attention or anything. I'm just trying to, like, go about my life, run an errand, walk my dog. And people here, they like to, like, they'll say hi to you. Like, if they don't know you, strangers, they'll say hi to you. And then, like, even though I don't feel like talking to anyone, like, if you don't say hi back, they're like, oh, you're so rude. They yell at you. And, like, when I was I went to Norway, Czech Republic, like, I didn't get any of that. Like, in London, I didn't get any of that. I didn't get, like, random people, like, saying hi to me, which I loved. I'm like, yes, like, please don't force me to, like, talk to you if I don't want to. Like, I would meet people, like, at my hostel or something, yeah, but, like, when I'm just, like, walking, like, I don't want to feel, like, forced to, like, talk to people, So I don't know, is that, like, a common thing over there where it's just, like, every time you walk by someone, like, they're like, hi, and they expect you to, like, talk to them? Or
no, I wouldn't say, I'd say probably in closer communities where sort of, like, everyone knows everyone on the street and your neighbors and stuff like that, you'll have, like, a little bit of conversation. But I think but
strangers, I'm talking about strangers. When you walk by strangers, are you like, hi, strangers?
There's a default expression which I'm sure everyone in the UK uses, and it's a perfect go-to, and it's an acknowledgement, but an acknowledgement that doesn't require a conversation after it.
Okay.
And you say we're walking past each other. I'm looking at the camera now. You just go like, all right, and just carry on walking.
See, like, that's right, fine. I'm okay with that, but the fact that they're like I seriously, like, I will walk by, and if I have my headphones on, I don't say anything. They're like, oh, what up, beep? They'll, like, cuss you out and stuff. I'm like, I'm just like, why? Why do you feel like this? Like, I owe you a conversation when I'm just trying to walk my dog? Like, you don't know if I have other things to do. I only have a limited amount of time. Like, I'm not in the mood. I'm an introvert. I have anxiety. Like, I have all these reasons that, like, I don't want to talk to you. And it's like, here it's considered rude. Like, if you don't, like, stop and talk to people. So
it's the power of the phone and the earphones for me. Like, and to be honest, a lot of people tend to do it now. A lot of people are kind of sort of, like, magnified to their phones constantly. So if you're just looking down at your phone and you're not even glancing up and you're about to pass someone, then it's fine. It's a whole thing, because I get, like, the whole anxiety thing. Like, I totally get it. Like, if you're approaching someone and you're like, look at them, and it's like, and you, like, look at them, and then you just go, like, default. Right, and then you just pass on. That's it. And it's a rhetorical all right as well. It's not, you're all right. Well, yes, I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing today? Oh, it's just one line, one word, done. Move on with your life.
Well, that's what I prefer. So, well, public transportation. That's another thing I like. Well, that I loved about London, and I mean, they kind of have that in Chicago and New York. Is public transportation is awesome. You don't need a car, really. You can pretty much go anywhere with public transportation here. Most places that are not Chicago or New York, which is the majority of the country, you pretty much need a car. And I'm just more of a walkable city type of person, so I prefer public transportation. So, I mean, I know you don't live exactly in London, so...
I certainly don't. I'm quite a ways out of London.
How is it in other places in the UK?
I would say if you live in the city, if you live in the heart of the city, then it kind of renders own transportation like a car completely null and void. We live in a world now, a great world with Uber and
Mm-hmm.
buses, trains. If you live in London, you've got the underground, you've got trams in places in other cities around the UK, such as Manchester and Nottingham. You've got trams that kind of connect the whole city together. So there's ways and means. It's a very different way of life. I'm not homegrown city boy. Um, I'm not a small town girl. I'm a small town boy. It's kind of the roles are reversed in this
Yeah.
journey analogy that I'm going with here. If you're in a village, if you don't have your own car, you do kind of have to rely on buses. I tell you what, though, if you want to see some characters, you get yourself on a bus and you become a bus regular. You don't want to be a bus regular because you see bus people.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't like the bus. I hate the bus here. I always prefer if I can take some kind of subway or trolley, I will take that over the bus. Bus is like my last resort. That's what, like, the only way I can get there is the bus. I'm like, fine, but like the bus is the worst here.
and I'm always the person. I guess I just have one of those faces, don't I? You'll get someone who's like carrying a bin bag full of like trash or something, and they'll like be talking to themselves and like twitching, and I'll be like, don't sit next to me, don't sit next to me, don't sit next to me, and they always sit next to me, and then they try and create conversation, and I've got my phone and my earphones
Yeah.
in,
I
and they're
have a
like,
book too. When I'm
yeah,
on the bus or something, I have a book. I have my headphones. I'm all like, please do not approach me, and
yeah.
people will still. I'm like, do you
Well,
not see this?
when I was at university, I was reading through the Game of Thrones books, and I read them all in a year, and it was like you were gripped by it. It was amazing, and I was there with my book every morning, an hour and a half to university, an hour and a half back, 3 hours of reading every day. Jobs are good, and someone would go like, "Hey, Chris," I'll just be like, and I'm just like behind the book, I'm just like, but the book's
Oh.
covering, and I close it and go, "Hi, nice to see you. Let's have a conversation." Yes, and it's just like the sociopathic smile on my face.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's you see some characters on public transport, but cars are the way forward. I think if you live in a place where you're in a village or you're in a town, and in order to get to places, you have to have a car. If you're in the city, I think you can pretty much just get by with walking. There are ways and means where you don't need a car, and it's probably actually more hassle to have a car in a city centre, because have you seen traffic in city centres? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, I would not. That's why I got rid of mine. Like,
Hmm.
and that's why New York and Chicago are smart with having their subway system, and LA needs to get with it because it's
Hmm.
horrible. um, and it's also very loud. That's the one thing I hate. In Miami, where I'm at right now, they don't have a subway or anything. They have kind of like a metro thing, but it's only in like a certain part of downtown that I don't really get to be on there a lot. But in LA, I lived there for 4 years, and it was so annoying because, like, you know, I'm an introvert. I'm more like, I like the quiet, and all the time, like, people are just being so loud, blasting their music, having really loud conversations, fighting, and I'm like, no one cares. We don't want to hear your conversations. Like, you're not that amazing. Like, can you just shut up? And then I went to Norway, and I was like on their little, you know, they had like kind of like little trolley thing, and it was full, but everyone was so quiet, and I loved it. I'm like, this is like good. Like, these are my people. Right? I hear people would be having conversations, but they were like respectful. They would have it like in a kind of quiet volume because, you know, they don't want everyone, I guess, to hear a conversation, which is understandable because I'm like that too. I don't want everyone to hear my conversation. If they were on the phone, they were like this, even though it was packed, but it was so noisy. Like, it would give me such anxiety to be like on a subway in LA. I'm like, somebody save me. Everyone's so loud. Like, I don't care about your conversation. Shut up. And then I will say in London, oh my gosh, the tube, the seats there, so comfortable. So
Really?
comfy. Well, at least the ones that we went in,
Okay.
like, I
Okay.
thought they
I mean,
were
you rode exactly the same underground that I did, but Jesus, okay.
so comfy and like cushion. Like, it was like cushion. Here it's like plastic. It's like hard plastic. You're like sliding over the seat. Like, I'm like, okay, it's not comfortable. So I will say that. And I didn't really see any like crazy stuff, but I mean, I wasn't there for that long. But most of the time, how would you say, like, do you see some crazy stuff there, or Is it mostly like people are pretty respectful or?
On the underground, are we talking
Yeah.
specifically here? I mean, when I go to London, everyone just seems, it's either people nose down in a book, or
Yeah,
they look like they're
books.
kind of slipping into their own sanity a little bit. Everyone just kind of looks miserable in London, especially on the underground. It's almost like Car on the River Styx kind of thing. Like you're just sort of you're hanging on to the thing, or you're hanging on to the thing, and you just
Mhm.
sort of sound of silence is internal monologuing inside of your head, and then
Yes.
it's just like get off at Waterloo, and you're like, oh, okay, this is my side, and then you just go on. Everyone moves quickly. No one talks to each other in London,
Good. That's what
and I like that. No, and
that's
I
what
love
I
that,
like.
and that's why I love going to London. Everyone walks quick. One of my biggest, so another pet peeve right now. I'm going through my list of pet peeves.
Uh-huh.
Number one was people texting during a movie or an important TV show. Number two is people who don't walk fast in front of you. And you've got to you try to like navigate like left and right, and then you go to do it, and then someone's walking from that way, and it's like nah, and then you just get that's me. I get agitated and stuff like that. But people walk quick in London. People have got places to be.
Yeah.
It's always moving. I love the energy of it. It's awesome. But everyone just on the underground is just slipping into their own melancholia. The shared melancholia and futility of the world is
Yeah.
contained within that underground
That's
for the
good.
duration of that journey, and it's nice. I think actually when I met up with you there, I think we were the only two that was like engaged in conversation on
Well,
the
because we knew
entire
each
trip.
other. Like if
Well,
I
yeah,
if I
exactly.
was
Yeah.
on there and I didn't know you, I probably wouldn't have talked to you. So like because I don't just go up to random people and talk to them, but yeah, because we're friends. I don't think we were
Mhm.
loud though. Were we loud?
No. I mean,
everyone probably
it's
heard
very
us.
loud. Yeah, it's
'Cause-
very loud down there, so we kind of had to like raise the volume a little bit. But
Yeah, but that's what I like. People just like keep like their mind their own business, and that's how I
Mhm.
feel like that's just how I operate. I don't want random people talking to me. Like just leave me the heck alone. That's my motto. Okay, I have to ask about this because I read I mean this is kind of in the US. I think it might be a regional thing. I don't know, but it might be a US thing. I don't know. I mean, I've lived in different states, but I read this article about somebody who's originally from the US and went to live in London, and he talked about how well, first of all, I'm the kind of person that I like to dress up. Like not in costumes, but like I like to dress well. Like if I go out, I want to look nice. I love wearing dresses. I will wear a dress any chance I get. I wore a dress when I hung out with you. It was a polka dot dress. I love wearing dresses. So any chance I can, I will wear a dress. So I like to dress nice. And also that's also, how my parents were like they raised us dressing like you couldn't show up to church wearing like in t-shirt and jeans. No. But the rest of the US is not like that. And I read a story, an article about a guy from the US who moved to London, and he said that he went to the, grocery store in just sweats because that's what he's used to doing in the US. And he said that after he did that, he never did it again because everyone was staring at him like, why are you in the store in your sweatpants? And he's like, I only wear my sweatpants at home now. So that's something that's pretty common here. Like I look like the weird one when I'm dressed nice, even if I'm not wearing a dress, even if I'm just wearing nice pants. Like what? Like you're supposed to be in like sweatpants, pajamas in the store. Like people give me a hard time all the time. Why? Oh wow, you're dressed nice. I'm like, I think for me it's normal, but like you actually have buttons on your shirt. What? People here are very like, especially in California. I like in New York. I think it's a little bit more different. They're more like high end, like kind of
right.
What I like better. And here in Miami, too, people going like their bikinis and stuff. I'm not like that. So I'm the weird one for dressing nice, but like, would you ever, or have you gone to a store in your pajamas or sweatpants or anything like that?
No. I mean, I do have, we call them joggers, I guess, like sweatpants, whatever, like jogging bottoms, we call them, or anything like that. It's kind of my gym wear, but it's so very comfy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so comfy.
Yeah.
So if I'm going on a walk, I'll throw on like my joggers or something like that, just t-shirt, hoodie, just done. And that's kind of like my gym wear. That's kind of my casual wear. But the real wear for me, when I'm being myself and like my inner soul comes out, it is leather jacket, sorry, animal people. I have a leather jacket. It's a band tee. It's a logo tee or a band tee. It's my blue jeans and it's my Converse. Yeah, and the hair's down. That's me when I'm just sort of like walking around. It was actually kind of funny when you said like I like to wear nice pants. If we're going with differences between the US and the UK, the definition of pants is very different.
Okay.
So pants is like underwear.
Oh,
Pants. Yeah. So if you're going with terms of like long length, it's trousers.
trousers. Okay, I like to wear nice trousers.
We have different. So I was like, nice pants. I was like, I mean, I'm sure you do, but like,
I definitely wear something over those long pants. Yeah. So trousers.
You're gonna wear some nice pants for your trip to Poundland.
Oh my god.
And then follow it up with a cheeky Fernando. But yeah, so I tend to wear pretty casual stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. When I want to make an effort,
yeah,
I can make a goddamn effort if I want to. I can push the boat out.
That's
but
good.
Not a nice shirt.
No, but I still think the leather jackets and all that stuff is still nice. Like, I mean, hello, I love the Strokes. So like Julian Casablancas, that's so hot. So yeah,
me trying to like channel my inner Danny Zuko.
Yeah,
I'll get there one day.
Rockstar look is fine, but just it's so much better than freaking pajamas and like sweatpants. So in terms of like parties, okay, so I just like
parties.
I want to know about the difference. Like if you go to like a house party or something here in the US, if we go to like a party, like different kind of food you would see. Obviously we would have alcohol, but we would probably have some like tortilla chips, guacamole, maybe depending on the party, maybe someone will bring some cookies or something. Definitely lots of potato chips, like Lay's and Doritos and stuff like that. For some of us, like the ones that want to be healthy, will have some hummus, some veggies, and then games. We'll have beer pong, the card game. What's it called?
Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
King's Cup. It's a drinking game which I hate. I have not played that.
Which one's that?
It's a horrible game.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's you play with like a deck of cards and then you spread them out. You have a cup in the middle. And then you draw cards and you do different things depending on which card you get.
Oh, okay.
And then whoever gets the first 3 kings, you have to pour some of your drink in the middle cup. So everyone has to have a drink. And then
and it's the dirty pint in the middle with all the concoction.
Yeah, and then if you get the 4th one, you have to drink it. And the last time I played it, I got the 4th one. I had to drink it and I had the worst hangover of my life. And I have not played it since. And it was like 13 years ago. So I stay away from that game. When people bring that up at parties, I'm like, no, I'm not playing. I've never played Spin the Bottle. That was a common one. And I felt so not popular because on TV you would see people play Spin the Bottle and 7 Minutes in Heaven. I never got to play that. I never got to like kiss anyone like Spin the Bottle.
We missed out on that game in the UK. We didn't have that one. Jesus.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we didn't have that.
What are common food and party games when you go to parties there?
So in total of about the 4 house parties I've gone to in my lifetime, I think that the latter ones that I've been to tend to have beer pong now, but I think that's something that's definitely sort of came from the US. I think that's definitely like a US thing. Every like sort of like university or frat thing that I see in a US film, they're playing beer pong. So I think that's something that we kind of adopted for us. Cards Against Humanity is a good staple. Kind of has diminishing returns though. You play it for like 20 minutes, half hour, anything more than that, I kind of like, everyone kind of tunes out of it, I think.
I love that game. I won my first one. I was so happy. I've only played it twice though. So.
And what did you call that drinking game that you played?
King's Cup.
King's Cup. So we call it the Ring of Fire, I think we call it, where you have the pint. It's the same kind of conceit. You have the pint in the middle. It's not cards though. I can't remember how we played it. I don't know if we played it with like trivia questions or something, and if you got it wrong, you had to pause. I can't remember how we played it. Which probably goes to show how much I drank at that point. And it's a good few years ago now at this point. But spirits were going into it. Beer was going into it. And I hate beer. I can't stand beer. Yeah. And spirits and beer just don't go well together anyway. Yeah. It wasn't that great. In terms of food, tortilla chips is a great shout. Doritos, crisps. Sorry, potato chips.
No, it's okay. Say crisps. We want you to speak like you speak. Okay.
And Lay's is Walker's in the UK. It's the same
Oh.
logo. It's exactly the same logo, but it's called
Okay.
Walker's Crisps. Those in like dishes scattered around will probably have little sausage rolls, cocktail sausages. Jesus, that you can tell I don't host many house parties. What do people eat?
Spam.
What do if
Monty Python. If you reference anyone. Spam.
Yeah.
I don't like spam.
Spam. Yes, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're saying. That you're not just randomly shouting spam at me, and I was kind of scared for a second. It'd be like little mini pizzas, maybe.
So good, mini pizza bites they call them here. Yeah. Yes, pizza.
I need pizza. I'm gonna need pizza tonight.
I want some pizza now.
I shouldn't, because like this whole thing here, but no. Yeah, just sort of like little drips and drabs, really, little party foods. There's a fast food place that has all these Christmas adverts. It's like, get your party foods now. It's called Iceland, another land, but for ice this time, so there's no euphemisms with this one. And it's just little bits like that. And I'm a bugger for food like that, little snack foods, especially savory, like crisps and just Doritos, Pringles, popcorn.
Pringles, yeah.
Give them me all. It's amazing.
All right. Well, I think that's about it. We talked for quite a bit. Like, we just, I just wanted to give anyone who's never been outside of the US an idea of what things are like in another country, because I talked about in my intro earlier that one of my biggest pet peeves, you were mentioning pet peeves, is
let's share.
One of mine is, because I love traveling, it's just the Americans who kind of give the rest of us a bad name, and they don't do any research, and they travel to another country and they assume everything's like America. And then I'm like, did you not do any research?
That's a very British thing as well. I think it's like we expect everyone to speak the language, and to be fair, they do. We don't have to learn their language when we go to another country. We just have to shout aggressively in broken British and point and I appreciate you taking the time and teaching me some new things. Now I learned about Poundland. You'll be fine. When you come to the UK again, you'll be absolutely fine. This has been fun and educational, and hopefully you've learned a lot to put you in your stead when you come to the UK.
Yes. And before we leave, where can people find you?
Okay, so if you're not tired of my dulcet tones on this very lovely podcast today, you can find me on Cinema Savvy on YouTube. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Facebook, if you just search up Cinema Savvy. Twitter and Instagram is cinema_savvy. I talk about movies. I talk about some TV shows. We do quizzes. We do reactions. We do movie discussions. Everything in between. We're all movie fans on there. So if you like your films and you want to hear me prattle on about some movies, check us out on there. That's Cinema Savvy.
And even though he didn't drink on this podcast, he drinks sometimes on his channel. So
I do. That's a very new show that we've done, and I'm not proud of what happened last time. It was Star Wars Revenge of the Sith drink along, and I got through the best part of 2 bottles of wine. So my final lesson to the folks listening at home: don't mix white and red wine. It never ends well, and do not do what I do.
Oh my gosh, I have to say, I don't know if you ever want to do it, but it's crazy, okay? One of my favorite movies ever of all time is the Japanese film Battle Royale, and I've seen it probably more than any other film, and because a lot of people here don't like to watch films with subtitles, and I love that film. The way I got a lot of my friends to watch it is I told them, hey, there's gonna be a drinking game, so they would come over to my place and we would play this drinking game that I found online. But I actually had to remove a lot of rules because I was reading it and I'm like, we're not gonna survive if we follow all these rules. So even with all the rules that I took out, I did the drinking game twice and nobody made it through the whole movie.
But you did. You made it.
Even I didn't make it. The first time I didn't make it. The second time, since I knew I didn't make it the first time, I was like, okay, instead of drinking every time I'm supposed to, I'm gonna drink every other time. Mm-hmm. I still didn't make it through the whole movie. I made it a little bit further, but not through the whole movie. But I think it would be... Well,
you know what they say, 3 times the charm. So
yeah, so maybe we could do a drunk one with maybe take out a little bit more of those rules. I don't know.
And I won't be drinking wine. That's for damn sure.
Just drink the same thing. Just one thing instead of mixing it. and maybe you can
Agreed.
make it. Because it's such a good movie. It's so good.
I mean, I'm an absolute lightweight when it comes to alcohol. So, I mean, you've got this in the bag. So,
no,
as
I'm a
long...
lightweight too. I'm a lightweight too.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to push for you to get the victory. You've got to make it to the end of this movie. And if we assign ourselves that task, we will get to the end of that movie come hell or high water. It's going to happen.
Yes.
We also have that trilogy of movies that we talked about.
Yeah, we're a certain trilogy.
Yeah, don't you forget about that.
Yeah, definitely have to be drunk for that one.
Oh my god, is there any other way to get through those movies?
Yeah. Shoot. All right. So thank you again, and follow Chris, and hopefully once we are able to travel, you can broaden your horizons. And
I think I definitely need to. I think
well, not just you, but the people that are listening.
Well, I definitely need to. I can't remember the last holiday I've been on. It's been that long, so I definitely have horizons that need to be broadened.
Yes, everyone needs to broaden their horizons. There are so many other great people that you can meet all over the world, great new friendships, and that's what I want to hopefully inspire people to do. So thank you so much for joining me, Chris.
Thank you.
Bye. So that is it for today's episode of the Quarantine Happy Hour podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Chris, again for joining me. I hope to actually visit you sometime soon so we can actually hang out. And yeah, if anyone's out there listening who owns some kind of wine company, especially plum wine, if you want to talk about sponsorship deal or something, I would love to have your wine on my podcast. Feel free to follow the podcast on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter. All the links are in the show notes or video description if you're listening on YouTube. And if you could leave a review, that would also help the podcast as well. Stay safe, stay healthy, never settle, and do what makes you happy. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.